Hey guys. This is part 8 of What If Naruto Could Talk to the Nine Tails from the start and was corrupted. Hit like and subscribe if you like this one, and also please check the author in the description. Let's start.
We are pain, that's all. We are God.
Chapter 56 Mission. Kabuto, after treating Naruto's latest wounds, went back to the Sound Village's headquarters. Orochimaru ordered him to report activities he witnessed, wary of anything his vessel may hide. Naruto knew. He didn't say or acknowledge the truth in any way, but it was too obvious. The boy seemed beyond caring of whatever machinations his trainer had. For some strange reason, their time together was weirdly pleasant. It, like many other things, made him unsure what to feel. Orochimaru leaned against the wall in silence for a full minute, erupted in mad cackling, and slurped as he licked his lips. "Oh, Minato!" The veins in his eyes bulged. "Your boy is so wonderful!" Uneasiness on Kabuto's face hardly concerned him. "I'll be going." A pale hand on his shoulder stopped him. "Tell Sasori about this hideout." His smile grew too wide. "Pruning is best done before spring." Kabuto stared at him. "You think they're ready?" He tilted his head from side to side. "Maybe, maybe not." His tone was even more playful and childlike than usual. "I'd invite you to come with us, but you know how the nobility are." Walking past him, he stepped out of the hideout first. "That's—" A spiral of emotion trapped the words in his throat. The three were better than most ninja. Any village would be proud to have them, but they weren't S-class material, not yet at least. If Naruto wasn't there when he defected, he was then. Few people alive could do anything close to his light shows, and consecutively at that. Combined, they could reasonably defeat a single S-class ninja. 2 was debatable. A team of 3 or 4 Akatsuki, by his metric, was out of their league. It left him with a groan. "You're planning on killing them. This is a test to see how far they've come. You're setting a few Akatsuki up to die, or a combination of those." Each, in spite of his grating personality, like Naruto, Yugo saw him as a replacement for Kimimaro. Suigetsu shared many of his peculiarities, and Karen made the most worried faces at him from time to time. He was both fond of him and irritated by him. It was strange, but it wasn't as if he had a lot of personal relationships to begin with, much less stable ones. Orochimaru either trusted him or wasn't worried about him in the least. He walked out of the hideout towards the next stop in his usual route and froze. There was a deep, sudden pain in his chest. It had been years since he felt anything like it, and he broke down that day. Nothing in the world could undo what he did. She was the most precious person he would sacrifice everything for, yet he still killed her. Even as he begged and told her who he was, she didn't recognize him. "Why are you? What am I?" Kabuto grabbed his head and grit his teeth. Damn it! Damn it! As much as he wished otherwise, he was still fractured. Neo Team 7 and Team Guy left the village through the main gate. Kotetsu and Izumo, having more than had their fill of being insulted, kept silent when they passed by. Guy and Kakashi felt like saying something but knew they needed time to heal. The lesser ninja with them were too busy catching up to pay the former duo any attention. A different white and brown encompassed their surroundings on the road. "I still have a hard time believing Kimimaro is dead." Dosa flinched as the atmosphere drastically shifted. Tenten's hands clenched into fists. "Wish I could kill him 1,000 times over." A hand on her shoulders from Lee and Guy soothed her. "More than enough of us died the first time," Kiba muttered, Akamaru whining in his coat. Sasuke looked down, attracting a concerned look from Sakura, into the snow. What's done is done," Guy said. "Our focus should be on the task at hand, right, Kakashi?" "Yeah, this is still an A-rank mission." Kakashi nodded. Lee raised a fist into the air. "As the Leaf's best, we cannot fail." Sakura rolled her eyes. "Who would even want to assassinate the daimyo? It's a death sentence even if you do succeed." She blinked at the two senseis sharing a look. Kakashi hummed. "S-rank criminals, most likely. What was that one guy's name again?" Guy tilted his head as he stroked his chin. "Kisame Hashigaki," Kakashi said. "He assassinated the last steam daimyo." Kiba's eyes widened a little. "That's the missing meme Naruto killed, right?" He remembered from the mission briefing. Anko helped. She made sure to rub it in their faces during his induction, and Sasuke described him while not knowing his identity to Sakura when she asked what happened after he ran after Naruto and Jiraiya. Speaking of, he looked to everyone present. Have you seen her lately? Why would we have? Tenten questioned, tone harsh. Kurenai-sensei got really mad when I tried asking her how they knew each other, Kiba said. She's been worried sick about Hinata. Sasuke looked to him. Have you seen her? He furrowed his brow when he shook his head. The Hyuga don't let anyone in, and it's impossible to get past the Byakugan. Tenten scoffed. Didn't stop her the first time, did it? What was that all about anyway? Sakura asked. When I asked Kurenai if she anything, she said Anko told her they helped each other get over Naruto, but she didn't believe her. Kakashi's eye narrowed, recalling her utterly absent presence for almost the past 2 months. I don't believe it either at this point, he muttered to himself. Dosa heard him, not that he wanted to. So there might be an S-rank criminal like Kisame Hashigaki after the steam daimyo? Snapped out of it, Kakashi tilted his head from side to side. Maybe, maybe not. He shared a look with Guy. We'll take care of it regardless. It was their job as shinobi, however necessary or unnecessary. In hindsight, knowingly creating a jutsu with the potential to disable the user's hands was a bad idea. The irony was it obviously being a bad idea without hindsight. Naruto's greedy lust for destruction and power overrode the refined shinobi sense he developed for once. His Raisin Shuriken and yet-to-be-named Fuck-Off and I Jutsu in their present forms were like the 8 inner gates, in his own words, a piece of shit. One did debatably less damage than the other, so it was the only one he considered using any time in the future. Mehei FFI the ASMHW. Yugo, holding chopsticks with noodles between them, squinted. Don't talk with your mouth full. MHY. Naruto swallowed. What's the point of healing ninjutsu when you still feel the fatigue and can reopen your wounds? Suigetsu asked, leaning against a nearby wall with a bottle of water in hand. May as well be makeup. Karen rolled her eyes. It can prevent further infection and get someone out of critical condition. Rain Man, did you study for it or something? He raised an eyebrow at her, cringing. I can move my left hand. Naruto lifted it up and jerked the fingers. Kind of. He looked away from Yugo's judging eyes. Suigetsu laughed. At least we get a break from training. He laughed harder. Nope. His happy smile was all too sinister. I can take you all with no hands. Prove it. Okay. He slurped down the noodles presented to him. Karen gulped. Why? Her eyes widened at Naruto, bringing his forehead to Yugo's, running a current of lightning chakra through himself, flipping from his seated position over Suigetsu's sword swing, attaching a foot to it with chakra, and liquefying him with a far greater current. She shot her chains around him when he landed on reflex, which she immediately regretted. Plea! The one that ran through her made the world dark. Naruto bowed for none one to see. Zabuza. He lifted his head high and proud. Eat your fucking heart out. A young woman about his age in a white kimono tilted her head from one of the halls. Lo! She cleared her throat. Naruto? His surprised grunt made her hum. Is everything okay? Yeah. He looked down at the untouched bowl of ramen, Yugo with Zabuza's odd sword on top of him laying unconscious by it. Just go through the halls instead of here, back to your room. I will, Naruto. She bowed, turned around, and began walking. He frowned before following. I'll accompany you. As you wish, Naruto. Only their footsteps could be heard. Naruto glanced at her occasionally, unsure of what to say or to do. She could take care of herself, but he couldn't help the aching in his heart. That was impossible for him to stop. It's just, for a few moments, it was gone when he was with her. Even if it worsened after, those brief periods were invaluable to him. This isn't good for you. I know. His frown worsened. Get rid of her. He scowled. So she can scrape around begging again, going from one house to another like some stray cat. It's bad when everyone does it, but okay when only you do. He growled and regretted it when she shook. Sorry. Looking down, he glared at his stomach. I thought about something that made me angry. I understand, Naruto. Kill her if it bothers you that much, but you won't, will you? Just what the hell are you trying to say? She will never be Hinata. He stopped just by the door to her room and looked into her blank, blind eyes. We're here, Rika. I know, Naruto. She tilted her black long-haired head with a smile. Thank you? He watched her open it, step in, and shut it behind her. I know you really are trying to help me for once. He turned back to the main room, really the living room, with a sigh. But can you let this one thing be? Remember what you promised her. If you want me to get over her, reminding me of that isn't going to help. Naruto started walking. And this is any better? Let's cut the bullshit. You and I are going to kill thousands of people. Hell, you probably already have. There is no getting better for us. This is who we are. I'm done trying to be someone I'm not and playing pretend. Then what do you call all of this? He shrugged. Testing the waters, Kurama. Seeing what's possible for me. I'm going to need something to do when this is all over other than wait to die. Oh, right. You will die, like every other mortal. Like old man Sage. Did you really forget that? The smallest of whimpers in his head made him stop back in the living room. Orochimaru stepped out of the hall leading from the entrance, and stroked his chin at the barely recovering three. I seem to have come at a bad time. Not really. Naruto hummed. What's up? The new year is in 2 days. He laughed. You want to celebrate or something? Didn't take you for the festive type. Me, not so much. The Rice Daimyo, on the other hand. You're going to see him. We are going to see him. Orochimaru's smile grew. Naruto scoffed. The 5 of us are going to be the weirdest guests he's ever had. Just the 2 of us will be visiting. His brow furrowed. Who's going to keep Yugo in check? His eyes narrowed. What are you plotting? If I was plotting anything, why would I tell you? Orochimaru patted his head and chuckled at his blush. Yugo will be fine as long as you order him to stay in his new cage. He stepped out of his reach. Whatever it is, they can handle it. You have that much faith in them? If they can't, what use are they to me? The slightest tinge of guilt ached in his chest before dissipating into his hatred. Then we should get going. Orochimaru turned to the others. Go to your rooms in my domain. He hummed when they looked to Naruto for confirmation. He nodded. You heard him. He smiled at a frowning Yugo. It's not me, and it wasn't Kimimaro keeping you in check, it's been you the entire time. Suigetsu returned the giant sword to his back and crossed his arms. You know, I might just leave. He scoffed. Bitch, you love it here. His embarrassed glance to the side made him laugh. I'm sure your village and fellow Mist Ninja will welcome you back with open arms after you've been held for so long. Orochimaru's tone was far too mischievous. You didn't tell me anything. All you have to do is convince them of that. Oh, fuck you both. Suigetsu took a deep breath, knowing they had a point. Karen, walking towards them, took the lead. I'll hold down the fort and keep an eye out for attackers. Who made you leader? Power is something you become, Naruto said. It's taken, not given. If he could properly move his hands, he'd stroke his chin. But it's not something you can just take either. Do you even understand what you say sometimes? Suigetsu squinted as the man in orange shrugged. Orochimaru transformed into a random traveler without a single hand sign. We should get going. Naruto followed him. If the daimyo orders me to kneel, I'm going to kill him. He rolled his eyes as the man laughed. You can't, that fool is surprisingly useful. What's the worst that will happen if I do? First, the land will plunge into war. He paused, realizing what was going to happen soon enough. It was Naruto's turn to laugh. I'm not paying any more taxes. Have you even done anything with what you've collected for yourself? Paying no attention to his frozen and terrified entrance guards, Naruto shook his head. Stacking Rio gives me tingles, but I'd trade all of it for ramen. He stopped. I didn't finish my bowl. He turned around and ran back inside, brushing past his trio of minions. Just like Anko and her dango. Orochimaru sighed. Naruto accomplished the not-so-difficult task of slurping down a bowl of ramen without hands to hold chopsticks before following his would-be mentor. Kuro, his ever-diligent and stressed whipping boy, dropped in to ask where he was going once more and froze when he heard his honest answer. The others didn't bother him, knowing the kind of stress he and the normal ninja were under relying on their whimsical selves. As for the civilians, they paid their respects with the usual gestures, albeit with worried looks on their faces. Only Kuro knew aside from them, but that didn't mean they couldn't read the atmosphere. 4 of their greatest defenders, casual slayers of any vagabond ninja that threatened them, were heading out. Something was coming, but they didn't know what. Kakashi and Guy's teams took the better part of a day to go from the land of fire partway into the land of steam. When they crossed over, Steam Village Ninja gave them more than a few looks. Something vastly more important took their minds off them: rumors of 2 rogue Jinchuriki roaming the land. Dosu told them what their ears were unable to catch. It gave them a much-needed jolt to snap them out of their carefree attitudes. "You don't mind if I beat him senseless if we catch him, do you?" Tenten asked, receiving a concerned look from Lee and a blank one from Sasuke. Sakura scoffed. "I'll join in, just try not to leave any permanent damage." Her brow furrowed. "But who could he be with? Didn't Gaara go back to the sand?" Kakashi was too busy thinking to shake his head in disapproval. "We're here to accomplish a mission, and the chances of us crossing paths with him is abysmal," he murmured. "As for who he could be with, the Six-Tails Jinchuriki, Utakata, has been rogue since Yagura started his culling spree." She turned to him. "Wait, the Mist Jinchuriki been for rogue that long? Isn't that a big deal?" Kiba asked. "Why am I just hearing about it now? Yagura was more of a concern at the time, and Utakata hasn't done anything to warrant anyone's concern," Kakashi began. "Even if the Mist still had the strength to retrieve him, they'd lose too much pursuing him." He frowned beneath his mask. "All they can hope for is finding another perfect host for the 3 tails that won't turn against them, which is extremely unlikely." It was alleviated just a little. "The Blood Mist Village is no more. They have no Jinchuriki, no clans, and no standing," Sasuke said. "Why hasn't anyone moved against them?" Dosu squinted as the 2 Jonin flinched. Kakashi sighed. "Because then you'd have to hold it. A village would still have to spend more resources and lives than the Land of Water is worth in its current state, never mind how much it would take to pacify," Guy added on. "The only benefit is destroying what little chances the mist has left to recover, and that just leaves a power vacuum for some other village to fill." "Why not ours?" Sakura asked. "Because then we'd be pulled into a war with the cloud." Guy nodded. "And possibly with the hidden Steam Village assisting. They may be pacifists, but that doesn't mean they're idiots who can't see a potential to rise again through some split gains in the Land of Water." "They'd side against us?" Kiba squinted. "Did we do something?" "Oh no, they could just leverage more against the cloud than they could against the leaf for a better deal. Their economy is too reliant on the steam's trade," Kakashi elaborated. "That's just taking those 2 into account, mind you." He almost groaned. "I'm not sure what to tell you if you think the Hidden Stone would just stand by as one of its rival neighbors grew even more powerful. Geopolitics are very complex," Lee said, massaging his head at the numerous complications. Dosa hummed. "But what do you 2 have against the mist personally?" The beating in their hearts was a little too loud for his taste. "It's so very cold." Guy shivered. "Spring and summer are cold there with no inkling of youth in sight." His father died defending him and his teammates from the 7 swordsmen, but it wasn't something he held against the village. Kakashi stared out into nothing. "If I could die without ever seeing that shoreline again, I would be very grateful." They fell into silence for a time. Only Guy knew as to why, but the others could feel it in his tone. Sasuke, more than any of them, could relate. It was the deep-seated kind of trauma someone dealt with for a lifetime, or needed some profound breakthrough to be rid of. He didn't realize it because he wasn't aware of it before the valley, but Naruto's anguish over seeing himself as not enough for anyone, not even his own parents, was one of them. "Do you think he's gathering the other Jinchuriki?" Tenten glanced at the faces around her. "Obviously, he's not the only one who feels the way he does." Guy pursed his lips. All of them would make up a formidable force to match the rest of the shinobi world. It was just impossible for more than a few to join without the other villages noticing and taking measures. He wouldn't need them if he chose to rely on the Ninetails' power. It's said to be more than the rest combined, and we all saw the difference between a good portion of it and the one tail," Kakashi said. Kiba scoffed at the ridiculousness of it. "Anyone else had nightmares after?" He pet a whimpering Akamaru. "That thing hated everyone." Sakura frowned. "I did, but I don't think it's anything close to living with it every second of every day." Lee nodded. "To battle such a creature is one matter and enduring it is another entirely." He raised a bandaged hand and clenched it into a fist. "That is the fortitude of our wayward friend and foe." Fire sparked in his eyes. He would spit on pity, so we should give him respect. "For someone with Rock as their personal name, you're soft, Lee," Tenten said. "He has more spirit than we could give him credit for." Sasuke glanced at his bandages. "You've been keeping it up since you recovered." I am certain I'm not the only one. His smile beamed at them all. Dosu, a natural creature of gloominess, cowered under his unrepentant warmth. Is he always like this? He held up a thumb and smiled, teeth glinting. Yes. Niji's death left a hole in his heart, but he wouldn't let it hold him down as that was his final wish. Oh, Lee! Guy embraced him. Guy-sensei! Lee! Guy-sensei! What the actual fuck? Dosu stopped along with the rest to observe a sunset and shore crashing wave in the middle of a snowy forest. Kiba sighed as Akamaru whined. Yeah, they do that. Tenten, more than used to it, stood unfazed. Give them a minute. She had no idea if it was a jutsu or some complex form of mass hysteria. No hand seals. Sakura hummed, having seen it back when the Chunin exams began. Wonder if I can pull it off. I'm tempted to activate my Sharingan, but I don't know if I want to. Sasuke squinted at them. An utterly mystified Kakashi nodded. Same. After the green duo completed their odd ritual, they kept walking onward. Their talk, while unnecessary to their actual mission, gave them some much-needed context as to the overall situation. Stability benefited everyone, and instability would create a cascade of events that'd benefit no one, save maybe a few opportunists. One such person already set everything into motion. Irony was someone else, and a particular group of people were looking to do it first. The day after followed the lead of the one before in boredom for Anko and Hinata. After their shift was up, Anko fed Hinata some zensai she brought along for the purpose of rewarding her in honor of her birthday. Both stared out into nothing, one seeing more than enough and the other not. It was more than a common occurrence at that point. Neither could think of anything to talk to each other about, having far exhausted subjects during their time together. Best either got was the occasional joke or unimportant observation after Hinata reported the movements of the other duo. A sharp gasp turned Anko's head to its source. What? She paused at the tears streaming from her veiny eyes. He's here. Naruto. She'd recognize him and his enormous chakra anywhere. Oh, Naruto. The giant disaster terrified her when she first saw as a child, but it became beautiful the more she witnessed. You can't hide your sadness from me. Holding herself, she sighed. You'll melt in my arms, and I'll melt in yours. Down, kitty! Anko looked towards the town. Whoever he's with is Orochimaru. Hinata blinked. The chakra network in his arms are severed. Wait, what? She glanced at her. Orochimaru. Her eyes narrowed. Naruto's chakra network in his right hand is damaged, and Orochimaru's is like an amputee's yet with the limbs still attached. She hummed. The gentle fist can cause similar damage to Naruto's right hand that can't be helped with healing ninjutsu. Niji's wounds to her organs lasting more than a month were proof of that. But Orochimaru's arms aren't like anything I've ever seen. It's as if something is blocking the pathways in his arms from reconnecting with the rest. She furrowed her brow for a few seconds before bursting into laughter. Holy shit, old man! She held her sides. I knew you had a sense of humor, but fucking hell! Hinata glanced at her, not that she needed to. Anko-sensei? Old man Hokage took away his ability to use most jutsu. An oh-so-malicious grin spread across her face. He's dead meat. Should we go alone? She could hardly contain herself either. 3 seconds of anxious pondering passed before she sighed. No. Far too much could wrong. Are they even at the palace? They're approaching it. Anko dropped off the tree branch. I'll wake them up. She took a deep breath and sighed as she walked. Don't you try and fuck me after this, Danzo. Her eyes narrowed at their current hiding place. She dug through the ground and whistled them awake. That was all they needed, really. Her facial expression, overall body language, and just waking them up got them started. When she led them to their spying spot, she felt a bit anxious having her back to them, even if Hinata could see them. One misstep, like many things in life and in their line of work, was all it'd take. Torian. Yes. He held out his arms, and 4 hybridized insects from his special poisonous breed and the traditional breed of the Aburaim clan flew out. Hinata focused on them. Those, she noticed when she first activated her Byakugan with him present, but she didn't know when or if to bring it up. Have Shino's chakra. We exchanged insects when we were children. His tone betrayed no emotion. As you can see, I bred them mostly separated from mine for purposes like these. I found it odd how all of Shino's were mingled with the faint traces of another person's. Her veiny eyes looked down. But I never asked him. Now, I know it was yours the entire time. She wasn't sure at all what to say or if it even mattered. He never broke under pressure, made complaints, or had me worrying about him. I rarely ever saw him smile, though. Torian stood unfazed. You saw him smile. He was happy. For the first time in years, he felt the slightest inkling of something in his chest. Anko mouthed the words, I told you he's dead inside. She was neither for nor against her talking to him about it after she informed her first. Danzo's servants were all broken emotionally as a part of their conditioning. It blended really well with the overall attitude of Umbu, so people didn't suspect much. Even if he wanted to, he couldn't hurt her because it would jeopardize the mission. Hinata noticed the subtlest warm shift in Torian's chakra contradicting Anko's words. Smiling, she focused on the bugs. They carried his chakra intermingled with Shino's, but they were so extremely small compared to the normal Abirame breed only someone with eyes like hers could notice. Another benefit of the Byakugan was it allowed her to see sensor-type ninjas activate their sensory jutsu without them being able to sense her. Both of them made an incredibly effective combination in espionage, counter-espionage, and assassination. In a short amount of time, Naruto and Orochimaru reached the palace's open entrance. The Rice Daimyo's shinobi guards stopped them after they stared the normal entrance guards into submission. None said a word, not needing to. A single look and they knew how out of their depth they were. When the elite among them showed up, most rolled their eyes at the display. One tilted her brown-haired head almost sweetly. You dirty bitch! Hinata hissed. Anko nearly jolted her before realizing what was happening. He is Mantis Slut's type. Naruto gave the grown woman's hip swaying and approaching blue chipao-clad form a blank stare. Her breasts weren't much to speak of, but he could see cleavage. Of course, her swaying hips were her only real impressive quality from what he could tell from a front view. It wasn't at all what he was in the mood for, though. The time for him to fail at whoring passed a long while ago. Aya. Teru, a giant of a man in plain clothes, shook his bald head. She ignored him, leering at the boy. My! A purr built in her throat. You look so much like the Yellow Flash. His scowl made her coo. Don't make that face. Her hand went for his cheek. Okay. Reina, one of the other elite kunoichi wearing a colorful kimono, said. That's N. Her blue eyes widened at him, taking her hand into his armpit, snaking his forearm around hers, and popping out her shoulder. A wide, beaming smile formed from Hinata's lips. Oh, Naruto. He turned her down. Anko laughed. He dislocated her arm when she tried to touch him. She blinked and laughed even harder. Oh shit! She leaned toward the palace. Orochimaru cackled while the woman jumped back with a scream. Now! He leered at the boy with a different lust. We're guests here. Owner needs to teach his bitch not to hump actual people's legs. Naruto glanced at the others with little interest. He managed to do a good job with you, so what went wrong with that one? Walking onward, he didn't bother looking at anyone. Pathetic. I told you so. Reina sang, wagging a finger. Shut up! Aya set her shoulder back in place with a grunt. Damn brat. She shivered when Orochimaru set his eyes on her. He looked to the rest and followed after Naruto. Mind yourselves. Daichi, a horse-faced young man, sighed. This New Year's is going to suck, isn't it? Is that even a question? Tadashi, one nearly their youngest guest's height, asked. Fireworks are so loud. Teru gave a determined grunt. Endurance breeds obstinance. The two finished. While they returned to their usual positions, for Ninja waited. Both of their objectives were in the palace, but they couldn't reach them just yet. One mistake would risk everything, and they needed something out of it even if they failed their actual goal. There was a new possibility to consider. It risked everything yet was more valuable than the conciliation prize planned. How he'd react was uncertain, though. Chapter 57 Prophet. Forward into the land of steam, those who'd never been witnessed the source of its namesake. It was barely noticeable in the other seasons but incredibly obvious during winter. Clouds formed below the actual clouds before turning into snow. Their destination had nearly the entire sky covered in them. All couldn't help but admire the sight. Okay, Dosa said. Being a real ninja isn't that bad. Kakashi hummed. It has its moments. Travel the world, meet interesting people. Guy cheered, raising his fists into the air. And kill them, Kakashi finished. I missed that slogan. Sakura furrowed her brow. Was that for the academy? Kind of. Guy's smile widened. Shinobi parents would tell it to their children. His father used it ironically, but he still liked it. Tenten looked from Sakura to Lee. Come to think of it, aren't we the only ones not from clans or shinobi families in our group? What group? Sakura asked. Guy looked to Team 7 as a whole. You haven't heard? He grinned alongside Lee and Kiba when they made faces. They're calling my team and your classmates the Raging Leaves. Had a feeling that was what the dick riding was about. Dosa didn't mind the odd looks he got. A bit much, don't you think? They're calling your passing class specifically the Rookie 9, Tenten said, ignoring him. Sakura looked down. 9, huh? A hand on her shoulder from Sasuke perked her up somewhat. Another awkward silence fell over. It was as Guy said when the subject first came up, the matter was long settled. Their feelings would remain the same regardless of how much they shared their thoughts. They had a mission to complete, and their emotions about another matter entirely would be a hindrance. Chances were they'd feel the same about many other things throughout their careers. The capital of the land gradually came into view. It looked beautiful in the snow and was nearly the size of their village. A palace stood at its center with fortifications that stood out from the walls surrounding the grand town. While a powerful ninja could destroy or slip by, they would at least be somewhat impeded. No doubt the daimyo had his own personal guard to help as well. Onsen City. Sakura smiled. Dosa looked to the distant wafting vapor. Dipping into the hot springs would feel really great right now. Hell yeah! Kiba pet a shivering Akamaru. Hate this cold. First, we report to the steam daimyo, Kakashi said, crushing their dreams. Guy stroked his chin and smirked. I heard the palace has its own private spring. He gave a joyous cry alongside his 2 male students, the dog barking in excitement. If that were true, we'd see steam over it. Tenten squinted as they deflated and Akamaru whined. That doesn't mean we won't have time to go to one. This is a guard job, right? Dosu almost sighed. Sasuke kept his eyes on the path ahead of them. We'll have to familiarize ourselves with the defenses so we can best know how to assist. Sakura nearly rolled hers. Let's just go after. She glanced at him. It has been a while since we relaxed. That's the wisest course of action, Kakashi said. All right. Guy jumped alongside Lee. Our celebratory hot springtime of youth waits after this. Dosa groaned. Both of you are way too much. You get used to it, Tenten and Kakashi said in unison. Civilians glanced at them, and used to seeing foreign ninja in groups beyond 4. There were more than a few steam ninja around, yet they seemed off. Sure, there were a notable number of obvious foreign ninja, but it was like they were expecting something. When they reached the palace's gates, the guards were relieved to see them. A few led by an old noble-looking man practically rushed them inside. Dosu, Kakashi whispered, silent enough one would mistake it for the wind blowing. He focused his voice to reach only the ears of his teammates. We're safe. Beneath his bandages, his brow furrowed. The guards are terrified, the ninja are scared, and the civilians know something is wrong. Nothing but talk about how off the officials are. They're afraid of even talking about it. Kakashi's eye narrowed ever so slightly. This is the real deal then. They continued into the palace proper. Not a single corner of its halls looked dirty or ugly. Statues, paintings, carpets, and even potted plants decorated the place. Even Guy and Kakashi couldn't help but look around. It wasn't every day shinobi below the rank of Kage were invited into the highest nobility's residence. Their escort stopped them in the middle of what had to be the throne room, as evidenced by 2 thrones. A young, long-haired man several years older than them in a kimono wearing a headdress with vapor icons sat in one, and a beautiful grown woman, also in a kimono, sat in the other. My lord. The old noble bowed and gestured towards the ninja. These are the leaf shinobi you requested. Humming, the man stood up. You're their best? He walked toward them, the woman following, yet in a far more dignified manner, while stroking his chin. Awfully young, aren't you? His eyes drifted from surprised Sakura to surprised Tenten. And beautiful. Minoru. The woman scolded. He jumped back. My apologies. The steam daimyo himself bowed, to the disappointment of his female company. You must have many questions. Am I right to assume you suspect a threat to your life, your majesty? Kakashi asked. Yes. He rose. No doubt, you've heard what happened to my predecessor. He frowned. My father. Guy murmured. Our condolences. Thank you? Minoru cleared his throat. What I'm about to disclose is information your village may find of some interest. Kakashi raised his only visible eyebrow alongside several of the others perking up in interest. Your Majesty? He grimaced, pondering how to put it. The village hidden in the steam has been infiltrated or home to a cult of murder-worshipping savages for some time. He looked at their confused and shocked faces. And they want to sacrifice me in honor of their god. Specifically, the man thought to be their leader. Drifting off, he shivered. Red Reaper Haiden. Who's that? Kiba asked. Red Reaper Haiden. Kakashi blinked. I have never heard of him. Guy hummed. Me neither. He stroked his chin, pondering if it was another person he forgot. The old official looked to the steam daimyo. Your Majesty, may I? You're the one who told me, Yoshi. Minoru buckled under the woman's gaze. He looked to the shinobi. Red Reaper Haiden was the Hidden Steam's deadliest Umbu agent. If they wanted someone dead, they sent Haiden. I was unable to learn the method as to how he does it, but he kills people by somehow puncturing their hearts straight through without ever being near them. Kakashi frowned beneath his mask. Oh. He heard of such occurrences long ago. When the Hidden Steam began to shift away from violence, Haiden did not take it lightly. He murdered a great deal of their shinobi before leaving. But they couldn't disclose anything about him without revealing who he was and what he did, which by extension was what the Hidden Steam did. Exactly? The old man inclined his head. I knew because the previous steam daimyo told me and Lady Hitomi of this man should we ever require his services before he went on his rampage. Sakura pursed her lips. How did you find out he's targeting the current steam daimyo? Minoru frowned. Kuda, the mayor of this city, had the threat carved into his chest while he was still living before his heart was punctured when he announced the New Year's celebrations. He began shaking. The false lord, in fear and despair, will know the wrath of the one Lord. All heretics will join him. The city of sinners will burn. May his faithful children rule the promised land once more. His servant put a hand on his shoulder, Hitomi doing the same to his other. That will not happen. The stern looks on the shinobi's faces set some of the nobles' worries at ease. Either he intends to mislead in pursuit of another goal, is pulling some sick joke, or he really is a fanatic announcing an attack like that. Kakashi said. Have you found any traces of espionage? Traps, explosives, or storage seals in the city? Absolutely nothing. Hitomi almost frowned. Your job is to defend the steam daimyo with your life. Some of their faces shifted in recognition of what she meant. Nothing more, nothing less. Mother! Minoru scolded. Do you have any more questions? His trusted servant asked. If not, you will be led to your quarters. The two jonin sharing a look and shaking their heads made him gesture towards the soldiers. Proceed. The guardsmen nodded before leading them back through the palace. Works of art from earlier passed by until they were replaced by new ones. Eventually, they stopped by a sliding door. It was open for them, not that it needed to be, so they walked inside. Packs dropped from their backs right after they picked out their beds. Dosu looked to Kakashi as if expecting something, which led the rest of Team 7 to do the same and draw the others into it. Back when I was in the Umbu, this Haiden was something of a legend without a name. His assassination method, as you heard, is unique and utterly unprecedented. Autopsy reports on the victims ruled out everything we suspected. So we're dealing with another monster. Tenten hummed. It has to be a jutsu, which means it's possible for our Sharingan to see. Sasuke activated his. We should examine the daimyo when we next see him. Kiba raised a determined fist. Me and Akamaru can track him from scent if we can find anything he could have placed nearby. I should tunnel underground to see if there are any he might have made to prepare for this. Sakura said. Dosa nodded. With my hearing I can tell if something's different, or if someone who shouldn't be here is nearby and throw my voice precise enough for only you to hear. He paid the surprised faces on the unaware ninja no mind. Lee, following Kiba's lead, jumped and raised his to the ceiling. And we! Landing, he blinked. We'll stand guard. His new teammate put a hand on his shoulder while Akamaru made a pitying whimper. You can come with us to help. This guy's probably strong. It's best we don't go around alone. Kakashi smiled. He could kill us off one by one with his assassination method. At least this way, there's a chance one of us will survive to witness how it's performed and inform the others. A bit grim, don't you think? Guy stroked his chin, lips a thin line. Kakashi is right. If this is that man, we need to find out how he assassinates people to protect ourselves and the daimyo. Kiba flinched, and Akamaru whined at his uncharacteristically serious tone. I see. He looked to all of them. So, that babe was his mom? She looks younger than our sensei. Dosu, I said. Lee nodded. Youth still burns vibrantly within her. Are you seriously thinking about that at a time like this? Sakura squinted at them alongside Tenten, making the green beast buckle. Nobles, shinobi, and rustic civilians try to have children young in spite of the risk because of the danger in our lifestyles, Kakashi said. And you're all still going through puberty. He glanced at her blushing face to the other kunoichis. I saw how you looked at him. Dosu gave an open-eye smile of his own. And I could hear your heartbeats speeding up. Sasuke almost scowled. People are going to die. Ignoring them snapping out of it, he looked to the Jonin. We should split into pairs and start preparing immediately. You and Kiba will make a good tracking team. Kakashi glanced at Tenten. You'll keep Dosu safe. Sakura twitched at a smiling Lee when his eye fell on her. Can't exactly use ninja tools or weapons in tunnels now, can you? Guy pointed his thumb at himself. And I will be with you, Kakashi. Who else is left for me to be with? He hummed. We'll stand guard and patrol the immediate vicinity during the morning with Sakura and Lee. Sasuke, Kiba, Tenten, and Dosu will do the same at night, so you should get some rest right now. Let's at least do one sweep while we're all up in case we do find something. Kakashi nodded. Good idea, Guy. He turned to Sakura. We'll join you and Lee. He glanced at Dosu. You'll stay here with Tenten and tell us if anything odd is happening. His focus shifted to the last two. Check the chakra signature and sense of the guards for anything that seems off before you check the palace's surroundings. He started walking toward the nearest door. Let's get going. They left and immediately spread out. Dosu and Tenten went to the center of the palace, Sasuke and Kiba walked around eyeing and sniffing respectively, and the sensei got out with their remaining students to dig beneath the earth, the two incapable of doing so clinging on to those that could with glee. Needless to say, the guardsmen were a bit taken back. It did relieve them to know the experts were on the case though. A few particular tensions remained between the ninja. Don't talk to me. Tenten spat. Dosu shrugged. Fair enough. Moving beneath the earth, Sakura groaned at small laugh-like hums. Can you not sound so excited? Forgive me, Sakura, but I fear I will never get an opportunity like this for some time. Lee blinked, realizing how he sounded like. She knew he didn't mean it like that. You got that right. Although, she meant that both ways. Kiba, nose twitching alongside Akamaru's, glanced at his partner. How strong was he really? Sasuke murmured, I'm not sure if he really was giving it his all, but he wasn't at full strength regardless. His Sharingan eyes narrowed, unintentionally making the guards shiver. And I still lost. Of our entire group, he's the only one that could fight Kimimaro one-on-one. His hands clenched in frustration. He almost fucking killed him when we could barely scratch the bastard before Niji, Lee, and Choji showed up. The second after he saw me, he realized Kimimaro played him. I don't think he expected any of us to survive. Either he had a strategy against Kimimaro that worked, was at his level, or beyond him. Not knowing or wanting to consider how much Naruto must have grown after 2 months, they concentrated on their work. Each who faced the last Kagaya knew they still weren't able enough. Both were hardly the only ninja with such ability in the world. One was about to grace their presence, and he, like many, stood out. Power is manifold. The Rice Daimyo's palace was easily the most fancy place Naruto had ever been in. Various knickknacks decorated its halls or hung from its interior walls. Servants meekly scurried about to ensure everything was in order, but especially to avoid him and his company. A few beautiful women ran away or hid in nearby rooms. He didn't care for any of it though. Orochimaru was plotting something and he went along with it because he saw a potential opportunity. When they stopped, they were in the main hall or what could be considered a throne room with a fancy mat in place of a proper throne. The man in a stylish black kimono sitting on it was grown yet not old enough to have wrinkles. His hair was styled short and complemented by a headdress adorned with grain-like scribbles. A beautiful woman sat on mats to his left and right, embracing him from them. Neither needed clarification to know what purpose they served. He smiled at them. Ah, my dear friend. His eyes drifted to the young man he didn't recognize. You haven't come with a guest in years. Tadanaga Akio. Orochimaru said in his true voice. I'd like to introduce Naruto Uzumaki to you. He blinked. The Naruto Uzumaki? He laughed, prompting his concubines to giggle. I shouldn't be surprised after how well he did in the Chunin exams. Shifting to the stoic boy, he grinned. I heard all about you from the dignitary I sent in my place. Kills me to know I missed out, but you both know how that whole affair ended. While I was busy and thought him recovering from injuries, he took over Mori Town. Naruto turned to him. Is that what it's called? He rolled his eyes at the genuinely confused look on his transformed face. Didn't seem important to know, and I didn't really care. Oh yeah. Tadanaga tilted his head. What was his name again? Tatsuki? Dasuki? He snapped his fingers, close to the answer. No head fire sword. His laugh was again complemented by the women giggling. You remind me of that little minx, Anko. He blinked at him, frowning. I didn't mean it like that. My interests lay in only women. He smacked the rumps of his company to punctuate his statement, prompting them to nuzzle his collar from opposite sides. Aya, pouting, stomped out of one of the side halls toward him. She didn't bother acknowledging either of the women. With a whimper, she stopped behind him. Her body draped over his and her lips met his ear. Lustful spite burned in her eyes when she glanced at the young man. I see. He squinted at him. You're one of those. What? Naruto twitched. Tadanaga stroked Aya's cheek. You hate beautiful women. He set his thumb on her lip and bounced it. Do you like it when they're the ones that try to fuck you? Tilting his head, he squinted back. I mean, do you really think that's befitting of a woman? He raised a hand to pause him as he parted his lips. I get wanting women to want you, but isn't it better when they offer themselves instead of going for it? He closed them and shifted his hand from the kunoichi's annoyed face to his chin. That's... His fingers snapped. Because you're the man. Naruto snapped his own. Exactly. Respect. He thumped a fist against his chest. He laughed, making him and therefore his concubines too. I thought I was going to kill you, but I like your style. He nearly flinched at realizing he said that out loud before the man kept laughing. Huh! Our good friend here wouldn't let you! Orochimaru broke out of his surprise caused by them getting along so well. Actually, I wouldn't be able to stop him if he tried. That's a good. He drifted off at the serious look on his face. Oh. Looking back to Naruto, he smiled. Can I interest you in a few of my concubines? They're your type. I don't like women who pretend to be interested in me out of fear. He waved it off. Unfortunately, that's all men of our station will get, even with arranged marriages. Tadanaga scoffed while his concubines tried to make him feel their affection. Especially with arranged marriages. Relax, I'm over it. Great! He turned to Aya's pouting face. Show them to the guest quarters. A frown formed on his lips as hers grew more pronounced. And behave. Naruto rolled his eyes at the approaching kunoichi's hateful glare. How do you know we're staying? My dearest friend never just comes and leaves. Tadanaga smiled at them before they started following her. Besides, you'd miss the fireworks if you did. Both rogues looked on ahead without paying particular attention to the help. Her walk was specifically trying to gain one of their notice. Natural inclinations as a man tempted him, but he was really tired of being tempted. As great as his passions and tolerance for grief were, it wasn't worth the effort nor the obvious risk. She was on his potential kill list anyway. Aya stopped in front of a sliding door. We're here. She turned to Naruto and became far more demure. I would gladly warm your bed if you'd have me. No. He slid it open before following Orochimaru inside, ignoring her twitching face. Hinata, still on the branch, wistfully sighed. You will always be mine and mine alone. She froze when Anko jumped back up and draped an arm over her shoulder. Don't forget who you belong to. Are all right. Her lips pursed. Naruto and Orochimaru are staying for the New Year's celebration. Then we will return to our rest, Sai said. Anko glanced at them, looked away, and clucked her tongue. Before you do, you should know Orochimaru can't use jutsu. She turned on the branch to look down at them. We won't have a better chance to kill him. His eyes betrayed no emotion. We are aware. Her confused face didn't stir him in the least. Naruto Uzumaki takes priority. Assassinating Orochimaru and neutralizing the Rice Daimyo are lesser objectives. She watched them tunnel back through the earth together. That old fuck. Frowning, she looked to her understanding student. I know he can't trust me, but still. She almost wanted to pout. Hinata murmured. Should we? If either of us sees an opening, yeah, but my cuddly wuddly is more important. She blinked at her thinned lips. Are you jealous? Her cheeks turned pink. And no. She rested her chin on her hand. Just thinking about what comes after this, and what to prepare for. Good idea. Enko looked back to the palace. Inside, Naruto and Orochimaru, back to his normal self, sat on their respective beds in silence. They hadn't been alone together since they picked up Yugo, not counting their journey to the land of Rice's capital. Naruto knew he was plotting something. Orochimaru knew he was plotting something. As little as either cared, there was tension, although for a reason entirely unrelated only one of them knew. So I'm stronger than you right now, Naruto said, breaking the silence. Orochimaru hummed. That's debatable. He smirked. You can barely use either of your hands. He scowled. At least I can use more than basic jutsu. I was wondering when or if you ever noticed. He held them up and wiggled his fingers. Better than they used to be, but not ideal. How'd the old man fuck you up? It was his turn to scowl. The same jutsu your father used on the Nine Tails. His hands clenched into fists. While I knew what it summoned, I didn't know the extent to what those beings could do. You are little more than motes of dust to the Shinigami. Kurama growled. Even I cannot comprehend what they are. Naruto raised an eyebrow. Sealed away your arms. He almost scoffed. Stupid old man ripped my soul out and the Shinigami cut them off. Hardcore. Indeed. Orochimaru laughed. Now all the Hokage save Princess Tsunade are fighting for eternity in the Shinigami's stomach. Wait, what? Naruto said in unison with Hinata. I summoned Hashirama and Tobirama from death to reunite the old man with them, give them time to see how much he'd grown before he died, but he sealed them along with my arms. After, I planned to make them witness the destruction of the village they worked so hard to build. Last kindnesses and so on. He shook his head. You are one twisted fuck. Smiling, he chuckled. But I respect that. Naruto. Hinata scolded. Enko leaned her head in, like a spectator to a sports show. What's going on? He's complimenting Orochimaru. That fucking bastard. So you think taking my body will heal your soul? Naruto asked. How, if taking that one didn't? Orochimaru nearly laughed. I don't and it won't. Arms or no arms, I can still kill you. But you won't. His smile grew. Besides, I have a proposal that will benefit us both. It became all too wide at his questioning face. I keep training you in return for Sasuke Uchiha. He's still alive. What is with you and those stupid fucking eyes? He twitched. Are you jealous? Naruto scowled. Oh please, he laid back in his bed. Despite how much they disgust you, Kekkei Genkai are absurdly powerful. Orochimaru laid on his own. What would you pick if you had to? The elemental ones, like ice and sound, seem pretty interesting. He groaned at a scoff. Not everything has to be eyes. Turning on his side, he hummed. But I think I would choose the Byakugan. What are you thinking? The Rinnegan is the only correct choice. You'd be perfect and unstoppable with it. I don't want absolute power that isn't really mine. Even now, you somehow keep reminding me of the old man. And here I thought you disliked that dojutsu. Naruto frowned. Niji's dumbass made me hate it by association. In terms of taijutsu, I can do without the gentle fist. What I want is the complete lack of blind spots. But I think I'd love seeing what I could do with full-body tenketsu emissions. Just imagine me not limited by access to my hands. He smiled, doing exactly that. Orochimaru hummed. Enko never told you about Tetsu. Who? Tetsu Hyuga. He was a branch family member, and one of my students alongside Enko and Hirakukosuka. She said the two of you used him as a guinea pig. He blinked, remembering he had her memories. Left out the specifics, yes? He stroked his chin. We tried mingling his body with some Uchiha flesh I grew for experimenting. A pout formed on his lips. Unfortunately, it had disastrous results like every other time I tried it. He almost whined. If I only had my hands on that survivor. You wanted to combine the Sharingan and the Byakugan? Lifting his upper body, he squinted at him. Wait, that's what you meant back at the forest? Yes, though the Umbu agent is from trying to replicate Hashirama Senju's wood release. Naruto hummed. So you used Yang release for those, like body modification jutsu. His nod made him tilt his head. I know this might sound bat's hit crazy, but maybe trying too. The curious look on his face was neither approval nor disapproval. As much as you can manipulate life, it still has its limit, so you have to start from the ground up, nothingness. What you propose is a hypothetical yin-yang release. He lifted himself up. I thought so once too, but it, even for me, is impossible. Frowning, he looked up. Such a thing would require an understanding of chakra beyond anything that has ever been shown. His lips pursed. Anko once suggested the same thing to me long ago. Old man Sage could do that. Oh, shut up. Feel whatever you may toward her, the two of you share much in common. I'm serious, that is literally what Old Man Sage did to create us. Do you know how? He had the Rinnegan. Your basic elements may as well have been kids' toys to him. Then I guess I'll have to figure it out on my own. He laid back down with a smirk. And I'm still not going to use it to get Kekkei Genkai. Hinata hummed. Anko-sensei, Orochimaru, seems sad when he mentions you. She shook her head. That unbelievable fucking asshole. Her eyes narrowed at the palace. Now you feel bad about what you did to me? And Naruto. He hates me, I know. He had to have known she kept the truth a secret from him too by that point. No. Hinata turned to her. His feelings are a mess, but the thought of you at least snaps him out of it. She blinked before scrunching her face. Snaps him out of what? He's back to his old self, if he really did act out on his worst impulses. That's bad, isn't it? Remember when I told you how he jumped out of a window on graduation day? Her nod almost made her laugh nervously. On a scale of 1 to 5, that was a 1. She focused longingly on his desire swirling into despair. He's at 5. Somewhere else in the palace, Tadashi began molding his chakra into a sensory form as he always did around that time. It expanded from him and stopped when they crossed one of that particular guest. He dropped to his knees before vomiting the contents of his stomach out. Orochimaru, out of paranoia or consideration, kept his chakra in a far more tolerable and unnoticeable form almost on reflex. Naruto wasn't near Karen, so he didn't bother keeping his in check. We might not need Torian's insects to keep the sensor ninja from checking for signatures. How the hell are you keeping it in then? She scoffed. Hinata held her blushing face. I love him. It grew as Anko embraced her. You're a good girl. She smiled. And Naruto's been a bad boy. Nuzzling her red face, her smile shifted into a grin. We need to make him understand. Understand what, Anko-sensei? Our pain, Hinata. That this all his fault, and there's only one way for him to take it all back. Returning with us to the village. From what you told me, he's probably going to put up a fight, so he has to be broken first. She giggled. I'm going to use you to do that. Hinata nuzzled her back. Right, Anko-sensei. Neither knew Naruto considered both lost to him. Seeing either would provoke a mix of strong emotions. Both revealing themselves would test his limits. Discovering what happened while he was gone would cross them. There was no telling what he'd do after. Chapter 58, Next to You. Onsen City was easily one of the nicest places in the shinobi world. It was a perk of dwelling in one of the most prosperous countries. Even as paranoid as the populace was after the New Year's announcement tragedy, things were peaceful. Travelers from all over still enjoyed the signature hot springs. A gray-haired man who wasn't a traveler nor native to the city took it in by his apartment door. Hideki! A woman in snow clothes with a babe in her arms stopped by. Hey! Leaning toward her, he tapped a finger against the baby's nose. How's Daigo? She frowned. He's been a bit worried. Knowing full well why, he nodded. Thought so. He put his back against the frame of his door and crossed his arms. Even if it's perfectly natural, you shouldn't be scared. He raised an educated finger. There's no sense being afraid of what you can't control. I'm not sure most people can accept that. She shushed her whining baby. Doesn't matter if they accept it or not, that's the way things are. You're right. A smile spread across her face. You're a good neighbor, Hideki. He chuckled. I can say the same of you and Daigo. Blinking, he tilted his head. Am I keeping you from something? No, I was just going out on a walk. May I accompany you? He glanced around. I mean, is that all right? She giggled. You may, Attendant Hideki. He bowed. As you wish, milady. Laughing, he followed after. Who knows? Maybe you are related to the daimyo. Oh, that's just a foul rumor. Eh? A few red memories came to his mind. Life is stranger than fiction. He looked up into the steamy, cloudy sky. As they walked around, several people they were familiar with greeted them. There were a few whispers and playful remarks, but they made sure to express how much it wasn't what it looked like. Each, knowing them personally, believed them. It was more teasing than any kind of accusation. No one else was around their residences when they returned. I really hope Daigo doesn't hear about this and take it the wrong way. She giggled as she rubbed her baby's red nose. Believe it or not, you're one of his best friends. Really? He blinked. Dai might not seem like it, but he's shy. We don't go out much because of it, not that I mind. Nuzzling their happy child, she giggled again. I'm happy. He smiled. I'm glad to hear that. Walking back to his door, he raised a hand in farewell. Think I'm going to take a nap. See you later. She opened the door of her own house and entered. He gave his surroundings a quick look around before entering his own. I really do think you're good neighbors too. He jumped back first onto his couch. All of you are. Yawning, he stared up at the ceiling. I'm going to save each and every one of you. None would consider it saving. Sometime after Naruto and Orochimaru got situated, Tadashi woke up Daichi from his rest to talk about the problem. They knew their lord wouldn't understand, so they agreed to forego their duties as long as he was present. Enko, seeing an opportunity, went to town with Hinata, bathed, and ate at the start of their shifts before getting dressed in their umbu outfits. Perfect impersonation excluding chakra signatures needed them to know their target's vocal tones aside from physical appearance and body language. Hinata's Byakugan let her create perfect physical transformations, but those were better reserved for fooling her own clan if need be. Orochimaru's mastery over body modification jutsu hid his secret as well as his identity during the Chunin exams from her and Niji's eyes. Master and student crept over the walls into the palace. Both went over the details before moving out. There were a few places they could stash anyone they wanted to impersonate. Each carried a number of neurotoxic needles with them to scramble their victims' cognitive functions for a great amount of time. It would leave permanent damage akin to drug use, yet not enough to kill nor disable them. Medical ninjutsu was incapable of recognizing such poison after it passed their systems. As for damage, its analysis wasn't precise enough to detect wounds on such a subtle scale unless the person knew what to look for. Orochimaru watched his own student's eyes open. You're awake. Do you ever sleep? Naruto lifted his upper body and tilted his head. Wait a minute. I'm surprised you didn't realize it sooner. Body modification jutsu. He yawned. He nodded. Life forms have an astonishing amount of complex processes we perform every moment. Sleep is part of several energy conservation and recovery processes. I can do them consciously now with minimal loss in chakra. Really, need to learn yang release. Focus your chakra into manipulating your physical energy, and you will be able to manipulate your own physical form. Naruto quoted. Or the forms of others, though that's more complex and difficult. Healing ninjutsu. He got out of bed and began stretching. Seems kind of shitty to me. The nine tails chakra in your body ensures you will never suffer the effects of a wound for too long, so it's of little use unless you wish to heal others. Naruto clenched his left hand yet still couldn't clench his right. That's the exact opposite of what I want to do. He patted his stomach, remembering their delicious dinner before bed. Do you know what Tadanaga has for breakfast? High-protein meals. Orochimaru would have rolled his eyes at his blank stare if it surprised him in any way. Meat, eggs, almonds, milk, and bread. I think I'll try whatever ramen he made the help get from town with some of that. As long as it makes you eat anything else. I had to order Enko to eat something other than dango, and she still had it for every meal. If he could stand the conflicted feelings he had just thinking about her, he'd ask what really happened between them. Both had a complicated relationship with her. Neither left her in the best state either. He was too overwhelmed with her betrayal and rejection to realize she had a chance of meeting the same fate as Hinata at the time. Orochimaru having Enko's memories and speaking of her fondly either meant their beings were joined in some way or a part of him sealed inside her finally returned, meaning she was probably dead and best written off as that. From what he knew about the curse marks, the latter most likely occurred. He laid back down on the bed and closed his eyes. The ever-familiar energy animating him, by his metric, used to be far stiffer. It was naturally inclined to pure force, much like himself. Learning the Rasengan, how to mold his chakra to produce all 5 elements, and perfecting his father's jutsu by adding one made it akin to clay. Without a doubt, his chakra control was either the best or one of them out of all shinobi to ever live. Orochimaru observed with interest. Don't forget to have a set goal, or you're likely to create tumors in your body. He hummed. Try to eliminate your scent. Haha. He deadpanned. It's rather simple, in terms of body modification jutsu, actually. Seal the pores of your skin, shower, and wear fresh clothes. Hinata, Byakugan activated, mouthed behind her mask, not his exact words but Anko's. Kakashi's sniffing around, so you have to learn it. After an hour or so, one Naruto was intimate with wafted about, to his immense joy. Hinata and Anko jabbed 2 servants that were known friends they were shadowing with the needles, dragged both into perfect hiding places, and transformed into them. They walked beside each other, whispering and talking about the others like the people they were pretending to be always did with their voices. Some other, actual servant approached the former duo, and informed them breakfast was ready. The latter joined them at the filling banquet hall, which they knew would have helped linger by in case anyone wanted seconds. It took Anko back to see her cuddly Wuddly again. While her new cuddly described his change in chakra, she failed to mention his change in appearance. He was now a feral and cuter little Minato. She would have cooed if she wasn't so shocked. Hinata snapped her out of it before anyone could suspect anything more by getting in her transformed face and wiggling her transformed eyebrows, mostly in character. Naruto was too transfixed by the bowl of ramen left of the Lord's seat at the table to notice. That better be good. Are you going to kill my head chef if it isn't? Tadanaga, munching on some scrambled eggs with bits of sausage mixed into them, asked. Good idea if he made it. He sat down and broke apart the chopsticks to his right with his left hand. It wasn't his dominant, so his grip was awkward and maneuvering even more so. Damn it! The sight of a woman approaching from the corner of his eye made him furrow his brow before he looked to her. Hinata held out her transformed hand. May I? Fine. He set them in hers. She locked a few noodles between the chopsticks, blew on them, and held them out. Ah! Him obeying, albeit while rolling his eyes, made her giggle with her impersonated voice. Naruto hummed as he slurped the salty and savory noodles. Not as good as Ichiraku's, but it's better than what I'm eating now. He turned to the daimyo. Do you need your head chef? Tadanaga swallowed and chuckled. Tell you what, I'll send for the greatest ramen chef on the continent, and have him escorted to Mori Town so he can serve you there. You are the coolest noble ever, and I'm not just saying that because you're buttering me up. He slurped more noodles presented to him. Orochimaru, transformed and enjoying his own meal to the Lord's right, stopped himself from laughing. Tadanaga knew full well how precarious his position was. The land of rice was one of the most unstable countries before he came along offering order in return for subservience. He needed them more than they needed him, but it was best for everyone to play along. Naruto genuinely liked him because of his simple attitude, a preference born from all the complexities in his life. Aya pouted at the young man being fed from her seat some ways away. No fair. Let it go, Reina said from her left. Live to sleep with some other boy. She smiled sweetly at her glare. He is strong, and you are weak. Should you lay with him, he will be the one that kills you if that man doesn't. Teru shattered almonds in his hand before throwing their remains into his mouth. Masao, an upper skull masked kunoichi in a red haori over a black kimono, nodded her short-haired head. There was death in his eyes. Her voice was a dull drone. He would have tried to kill you if not for our master. Do any of you idiots not feel like something is off? Ryota, a long-haired ronin in a simple kimono, asked. Why him, here and now? A man with the same face shrugged his shoulders. The hell are we going to do about it? Naruto gulped down his latest noodles and looked at the cluster of elite shinobi guards. Can I kill them? His eyes narrowed. Their whispers are annoying me. Oh, they'll stop. Tadanaga almost laughed at their unnerved faces before turning to him, a thought coming to mind. You know, I once thought about learning ninjutsu myself, but I lack the ability to manipulate chakra. He frowned. Ever felt trapped in a situation you have no control of? One that goes on seemingly forever? His favorite food held out didn't take his attention away. All the time, actually. Like you wouldn't believe. Anko and Hinata sympathized. Everyone in that room did, really. They were products of the system that put them there. Whether by their own actions and circumstances, a bandit-ridden country home to exiles and vagabonds was where they dwelled then. Nothing was ideal, but there were obviously better places to be with better positions to have. One was the Lord of Nothing, one's life work was reduced to nothing in his eyes, two saw themselves as nothing until recently, one was bound to things she saw as nothing, and the rest were servants of the first. Oh well. Tadanaga shrugged and trapped more of his breakfast scramble between his chopsticks. I suppose it could be worse. Naruto nodded. Things are going to go my way. He looked back to the noodles and glanced at the woman's sullen face. Nothing else matters. I am so proud of you. Indeed, Orochimaru said. Anko watched her student feed the other. She liked the more arrogant attitude, but they needed him broken and docile. He could be molded back into the sweet boy he once was, albeit far more obedient towards her. The girl who once barely tolerated her presence was proof of that. It was an idea that pleased her so much she nearly licked her lips. Hinata couldn't begrudge him. She had no idea what he'd been through the past months or what Orochimaru may have done to him. It pained her heart to think about. What she knew for sure was she loved him for the passionate, enduring man he was, and he loved her because of that love. A quality of hers that wasn't her womanhood pacified him, at the very least. That was more than what she thought her own father gave her. Breakfast continued on in silence. Regardless of the boy's ability, most of the elite shinobi guard were uncertain of. Angering him meant risking the ire of the most feared Sannin. They were far lower on the totem pole than that man was. Even their lord only had so much sway. It wasn't as if he couldn't replace them. All he need to do was make an offer to any of the prominent roving bands, and they'd become what passed for upstanding shinobi in the land of rice in an instant. As for the odd triumvirate, they were too busy thinking of how they were going to cope with their situations for any more small talk. The land surrounding the Sound Village's headquarters was vibrant and prosperous. It was deeply hidden in the thicket with a settlement nearby for would-be wanderers or raiders to be directed towards. Only the movements of a few key individuals could link them together. Far off closer to the town, two stood among several scattered corpses, all rogue shinobi. A single living member of their group skittered on the ground. Die with some fucking dignity. Suigetsu pointed where his head would be and scattered his brains across the grass. What is wrong with these people? He squinted at his company's squint. What? What? We just killed the closest thing he had to friends. And they tried to kill us. He kicked a corpse. Karen shook her head. He was terrified. Exactly. His face scrunched as her look worsened. I swear, you're just as schizo as TH. Chains shooting through his liquid mouth cut him off. What kind of asshole are you? Suigetsu moved his head out of their path. We're shinobi. He gestured to the bodies. This is the life. Do you really call what you do living? Her voice broke. You hide it, but I can feel it in your chakra. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she put a hand over her aching heart. Death, longing, and despair have become who you are. He stepped out of the chains and back. You killed more than a few of them, why? She advanced toward him. Quit running from it. She poked a finger into his chest. You're only hurting yourself. Are you even talking to me or about me at this point? He swiped her finger away. The four of you idiots, or all of you. Karen lifted her glasses and wiped her tears on her sleeve. None of you are okay, and I. She hugged him, burying her face into his chest. I don't know how to help you. He stared out at nothing. That time of the month, huh? He mumbled to himself. Look. Sighing, he held her back. It's not your job to help us, but I get how miserable it must be knowing how fucked we are while we laugh and smile with you. I can't turn it off. Teary eyes widening, she looked up. Kabuto is back, heading to the base, and either having a mental breakdown or a lot of trouble deciding what to set his signature to. Thought you said his was always like that with us. His arms fell to his sides as he stepped out from her hold. It's worse than usual. She adjusted her glasses. Something's wrong. Suigetsu looked in the direction of the hideout. Is Yugo in his room cage or whatever? No. She broke off running, companion following along. Is he at least in his zen mode? He's in murder mumble mode. Fuck! As they ran to the hideout, Kabuto more than surpassed them. It was beyond Karen's expectations. They knew he was effectively Orochimaru's right hand, but each thought him beneath Naruto. He'd jokingly admit to such. None ever pushed or tested him, not wanting him to potentially be moody when around. She furrowed her brow. What the? They hugging it out or something? Maybe. What? Suigetsu shot her a look. Green and brown foliage was replaced by dismal gray stone. Their footsteps echoed throughout the halls. Frustrated sighs and groans could be heard before they reached the central chamber. By the time they reached it, they found no sign of struggle. It was anything but what they expected. Kabuto in a cloud ninja disguise struggling to hold up a familiar young man turned to them, eye twitching. Did you seriously leave Yugo of all people alone in here? Ho, never mind your stupidity. He walked toward the other side of the chamber. Help me carry him back to his cage. Are you alright? He shot her a look. Karen, what should you be doing right now? She went to his side and helped pick up Yugo. Really, are you alright? His silence didn't please her in the least. What are you doing back here? Suigetsu asked, moving to assist. I wanted to rest, but I'm busy carrying a mentally unstable grown man you idiots left free to roam the place. Orochimaru stores all his valuable research. Do you really think he'd leave that kind of stuff just laying around after telling us to stay? Shut up, Suigetsu. More than used to hearing those words from people not him, he obeyed. Something was happening with him, and while he was also capable of knocking Yugo out with ease, the method he used was unknown to him. He was not in the mood to be unconscious for only they knew how long later after a flash of blackness. The most he did was share a look with Karen, who only shook her head with a grimace. It was Kabuto's turn to be the one they walked around eggshells with. Kabuto himself was aware they knew. He also didn't care. Defying Orochimaru outright would have likely meant his death, so he had to go through with his orders. That didn't mean he couldn't be around to assist. Chances were his current actions were something his master considered and maybe was even counting on. More dead Akatsuki meant less threats to his life. As good of a spy he wasn't necessary. Events were in motion. Nothing. After the preliminary search, the day and night teams formed from Gai's and Kakashi's found exactly that in regards to their mission. It would have made them consider the threat a prank if it weren't for who it involved and how it was done. The lack of any close signs of espionage meant they were likely set up away from the palace, which showed much needed caution. Searching buildings would have spread panic or possibly spurred their enemy to act sooner, and knowing when he'd move, while giving him control of the situation, gave them time to fortify their position. Minoru and Hitomi didn't want them to because of the panic and risk to their image respectively. Sasuke's eyes opened and drifted toward the clock hanging on the wall of their quarters. It's almost time. He slipped out toward his assigned partner, who was still resting. Get up, Kiba. Receiving no response, he shook him with one hand. What's the... Oh. He groaned alongside Akamaru. This is going to be the worst New Year's ever. Probably one of them. Would you be pissed if this was just some joke? Kiba got out of bed and scratched his jacket-dwelling dog between the ears. He nodded. And relieved. Are you alright? Sasuke's look made him want to scoff. You're... Drifting off, he stroked his chin. I don't know, you just feel so much more off than everyone else. It was tempting to shake his head, but he was right. We're going to have dinner for breakfast. He walked off. His nose twitched before a smile spread across his face. Hell yeah, we are! Shut up, Dosa said, rising from his own slumber. Do you have any idea how loud you are? Not you. Tenten groaned, recalling Niji's initial complaints about their team. He knew an explanation of what she meant was impossible, so he just got out of bed. Shit's either about to get real or, by some miracle, we made the leaf a fortune doing nothing. Knowing our luck, we should prepare for the worst. Believe me, I have no delusions this is going to end well. Don't you? She sighed as she threw her blanket off. Let's go eat. Her anger was baseless besides being pointless. They left their assigned quarters and went straight toward the dining room. Dinner wasn't ready quite yet, but they had nothing better to do before their shift. None were likely to have food as good as they had there ever again. It was more than fit enough for a last meal. By the time it was ready, the other half of their forces joined them. Kakashi eyed his plate of roasted delicacies with interest. If any of you wanted to assassinate His Majesty, and he was too well defended to reach, how would you go about it? He glanced at a surprised-faced Minoru sitting at the head of the table by his annoyed mother. We have no actual ill intentions, Your Majesties. This is strictly hypothetical. Bomb the city. Tenten deadpanned. She moved to pick up some mushrooms when she noticed them all staring at her. What? It would cause mass panic and divert forces to keep the peace. Dosu, bandages around his mouth moved, scoffed. They're scared enough already. So many people with so much ground to cover. Sakura grimaced, munching on fancy steak that made it very hard to. Sasuke swallowed a slice of his. People in enough numbers trample those that lose their footing to death. He stared at the blood seeping out of his meal much like Naruto's side did. They'll run not knowing where to go, hide in their homes, or try to find shelter like this palace. Looking up at them, his eyes widened. Kiba nearly shook his head when he noticed the looks on the Jonin's faces. Oh shit! Even if we could pick him out from a crowd of hundreds to thousands of people, we wouldn't be able to stop or eliminate him without involving civilians. Genjutsu, Sakura said. We can disable him with Genjutsu. If he's in a moving crowd, he'll be trampled on, which will cause pain enough to break him out of it. Guy furiously chewed a mix of greens and meat. Kakashi's focus shifted from the meal to his comrades. I can dig underneath the ground, pick him out with my Sharingan, and pull him under from the crowd. That's assuming he's working alone when he's in a cult. Tenten furrowed her brow, also assuming he'd go with this plan in the first place. Dosa stared out into nothing. A plan we have very little actual defense for and is assured to work if we weren't here. Smiling, Kakashi turned to the shaking daimyo. Your Majesty, we would like to escort you out of the palace and into the countryside after dinner is over. He glanced at Guy, who only nodded while vigorously eating his meal. You don't think this group of barbarians hasn't been watching near the exits of the village since the threat was announced? Hitomi sneered. He is safest here in his home. Her expression softened when her son placed a hand on her shoulder. Minoru gulped. Mother, I think they're right. She does have a point though, he said, stroking his chin. Kakashi turned his eye smile to her. We can take your majesties there underground or hide you under until this is all over. When he opened it, he saw her relent. Tenten hummed, chewing on some of the mushrooms from earlier. There could be other Earth-style users, so keeping them underground isn't a safe option. Me and Kakashi-sensei don't have enough chakra to make a tunnel all the way outside the city from here. Sakura snapped her fingers with a smile. But we can just dig deep beneath the paths they take and disguise breathing tunnels for you with Genjutsu. Can't we just go partway through the city and then dig for the rest if chakra is an issue? Kiba asked, Akamaru backing him with a questioning bark. Guy swallowed his latest bites and shook his head. We've only scouted the immediate vicinity. If we come across an underground base, we'll have put His Majesty in danger. He hummed. It's possible our enemy is a sensor ninja or has allies that are sensor ninja that know His Majesty's chakra signature as well. Dosa groaned. Leaving us back to where we started. All of us are going to be awake for the next 6 hours and likely a few more. Kakashi's stern eye swept over them. My team carries soldier pills just in case. So does mine, Guy said, serious tone far unlike him. Pop them if you get too drowsy. They gave affirmative nods and went back to eating in silence. Hitomi held her child close, mostly for her own comfort. It was too late for them to change course. Far too much could go wrong if they made a single mistake, and they arguably made a few already. Violence was inevitable. Before they knew it, morning gave way to noon, which bled into night. Orochimaru, Naruto, and Tadanaga were inseparable for that time frame and now sat on the outer palace walkway by the entrance. It frustrated Anko, but there was nothing they could do other than blend in the background waiting for an opening like they had been. Daichi and Tadashi, as Hinata reported, were sick from being infested with Torian's insects. Neither could mold their chakra to sense things even if they wanted to, which meant the two root agents woke up and were skulking about. The normal and shinobi guards, knowing full well to give space when one was present, stayed away from the three and them by consequence, sparing them any complications that could be caused by handsiness. Have you really never attended a fireworks show? Tadanaga asked. Naruto stared up at the starry sky. Never had anyone to go to one with. The families he often saw reading the flyers didn't help. My brothers would run and jump when they went off every time. He raised an eyebrow. What happened to them? I killed them, Orochimaru said. Tadanaga laid on his back. Only one can hold the seat of heaven. He had little use and it was too late for regrets. You get it. Naruto turned to his teacher. Have a thing for people with no or fucked up families, huh? Orochimaru laughed. I only share that in common. A light shot into the night sky following a bang. When they stopped, another resounded as it exploded into a plume of colored sparks. Many others followed. The starry night sky was soon complemented by displays vaguely similar to the ones it naturally had. It was enough to actually amaze Naruto. Hinata, still transformed, ran out of the hall by them to watch. Wow! She looked to the glancing three, jumped back, and bowed. Forgive me, your majesty. Oh, relax. Tadanaga waved it off. Just watch. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Orochimaru's tone was teasing yet had a hint of suspicion. Naruto rolled his eyes while keeping them on the fantastical sky. If I wanted her, I'd have fucked her already. He glanced at her red face from the corner of his eye and thinned his lips, recalling the person who most had that around him. Enko watched Hinata support herself by the pillar next to him. She thought about curbing their interactions, but he was as oblivious to her true identity as he was to her love. Orochimaru, in accordance with his paranoia, would suspect something yet have no evidence. The daimyo being no-go targets would help quash suspicion. If they questioned the actual servant Hinata replaced on her behavior, they'd take the truth as her playing dumb and being embarrassed. None would think it important enough to check with the two-sensor ninja if she was lying. While they watched the spectacle, one wishing for the other and her nearly fulfilled, another city burned. Chapter 59, Deliverance. The second the two leaf teams were finished with dinner was the moment they spread out. Kakashi and Guy took position at the front gate, knowing their presence was likely most needed there. Sasuke and Sakura went with Tenten, who wanted a break from her team and their replacement teammate, to one side of the defensive walls. Dosu, Lee, and Kiba went to the other. Every so often, they shifted positions to make up for their lack of numbers to cover all of the walkway. Onsen City was illuminated by lights from torches and lanterns. While there was still some tension among the populace, taking part in the festival relieved some. The normal guards being backed by the palace ones helped, but it made their defenses weaker by some degree. Minoru was supposed to make a public appearance, as was customary, but forewent it because of the threat. A few of them were tempted to take part except they had a job to do. What was likely about to happen made that a bad idea anyway. How long did it take you to learn genjutsu? Tenten asked, looking to Sakura. I've been trying to pick up more skills, but the only jutsu I can use beyond the basics is sealing, which just seals things. I just did it. She blinked at her scrunched face. What do you mean? Sakura tilted her head. I made the hand seals, focused on what Kakashi-sensei told me to, and it happened. You didn't need to learn how to mold your chakra or anything? Her innocent, albeit confused, nod almost made her scoff. Now that I think about it, that really is odd. Kakashi knew you had excellent chakra control even before we went to wave. Sasuke kept his Sharingan eyes on the streets and ground below. You didn't need any practice to walk up trees. He hummed. The imaginary element comes naturally to some people and some clans. Tenten stroked her chin. Like an affinity? Maybe? Sakura crossed her arms and thought. It and the living element aren't anything like the 5 basic ones, not like it shows up on chakra paper either. Guess you're just talent. An audible and visible chorus of explosions in the distance captured their attention. Screams set in the fraction of a second after. Like surprised ants, civilians scrambled about with no clear goal in their startled minds. Children latched on to their parents and vice versa, holding each other as close as they could. The panic they held back was finally let loose by the perfect trigger. Sasuke's hands clenched into fists as his Sharingan darted from person to person. I'll point out anyone who looks off. You keep your eyes on them. Right. The girls yelled through the screaming in unison. I can barely make out anything with all these people making noise. Dosu said, voice as if he was directly by their ears. Kaka on it. Kakashi ran up the wall to his position, lifted his forehead protector, and scanned the various civilians running about. It wasn't immediately what they feared. The chances of their enemy setting up in the brief time they exchanged patrolling for fortification were minuscule. People far from the palace were pushed towards it, but those already near weren't seeking shelter yet. From the sound and sight, it was just the outskirts of the city. And then another cascade of explosions erupted at the edges of the herded folk. Sakura stared at a distant pool of blood, bone, and bodies. The least wounded of those caught in the blast ran from. Who would? Tenten shook her by the shoulder with one hand and unfurled a scroll with the other. Not now. She caught her brand new Dedeo blades by their handles before they could fall an inch. Get ready. Sasuke's eyes became a blur of red and black. Even through the dozens upon dozens of approaching scents, Kiba could make out the carnage. Just like with Gaara. He picked a whining Akamaru out of his sweater and set him down. Funny how he could have killed us back then before saving all our asses. His hand fished for soldier pills and threw them into Akamaru's and his own mouth in a flash. Dosu's head ached at the sheer amount of sound. I know it sucked, but I feel like I missed out for some reason. We will not fail. Lee stood tall. Calm yourselves and hold your heads high, Steamlanders. This is what your enemy wants. I'm right here, dude, and they can't fucking hear you. My apologies, he whispered, ironically too silent for him to catch among the rest of the backdrop. Kakashi's Sharingan darted as much as his students before focusing on a gray-haired man in civilian's clothes among the approaching crowd. I see a grown man with gray hair struggling to look scared. What he saw beyond his flesh made him confused more than anything else. The hell is this chakra? Sasuke stopped on the same person in a different herd. I see a man with gray hair pretending to be terrified. His face scrunched at the horrid lust for blood and death. It's like I'm looking at a walking tumor. A questioning noise in his ears tempted him to do the same. You're looking at the same person? Their blood ran cold. Both were familiar with the jutsu that resulted in such a thing. A subvariant was especially dangerous and would explain the explosions. While the gates would hold against people, the same couldn't be said of a concentrated blast. Only one method existed to get rid of them if they weren't the user. Dosu. Kakashi pressed a latch on one of his flak jacket's scroll pockets, unsealed the kunai scroll, and grabbed it in a single second. Tell Sasuke to do it. Do what? Just tell him. He would have rolled his eye if it wouldn't take focus away from the situation. Kakashi says to do it. What? Sasuke knew that was the only way, but it was still horrible. I'm missing some important context here, aren't I? Kakashi narrowed his eyes and sighed. They're dead anyway. He threw his kunai at its center mass. To the surprise of the three genin, the image of a man snapped out of its facade the moment steel pierced its chest. It looked down and laughed. Looking up with a bloodthirsty grin, it jumped. Civilians were too absorbed by panic and too slow to react to it, using their heads as stepping stones towards the palace walls. Another kunai from Kakashi pierced its forehead, but that didn't deter it either. Seriously? He attached himself to the wall with chakra and looked down to see it make the tiger sign. Wah! An explosion, besides blinding and deafening him, sent him flying back along with the rest of his group. Sasuke looked to their direction along with Sakura and Tenten. Did H. He focused back on his clone, who was bouncing on heads with an equally evil smirk. You! The flash of him drawing the kunai from his thigh holster and throwing it straight into the clone's throat, making it leave behind only its clothes, impressed even the weapons specialist. If he was naive enough to take victory in that, the explosions after would have rendered it short-lived. The gate and sides of the walls they weren't patrolling were blown apart. Civilians, putting two and two together, ran away from the palace. Many fell in their haste, dooming them to another death. None of the conflict would end soon. Dosu? Sakura looked to the remains of the gates, finding no sign of Guy. Damn it! Sasuke put a hand on her shoulder before she could run off. We need to focus on stragglers. He's right. Tenten attached herself to a battlement towards the palace. You're the only one we have left that can deal with underground sappers. She ran down the wall and brandished her blades at the few that still sought shelter. Sakura drew her blade as she stomped toward her. Just what the he? Remember the mission! Sasuke pulled her back. Gritting her teeth, she glanced at his miserable face. Right. Her sword remained drawn, knowing being slow by a second was all it would take to worsen their situation. The other half of their split group was anything but good. Guy appeared by them in a flash and dug them out of the debris. He lifted Dosu up for him to drop back down, still needing to recover. Kiba and Akamaru, transformed into Kiba, were already getting out when he came by them. Lee managed to stand and walk normally after he pulled him up thanks to the gate of healing. It would have been the perfect time for an embrace if they weren't in their situation. Guy looked to the growling Kibis. Can you smell Kakashi? Just blood and soot. His growling only worsened. Steady your. A figure struggling to rise from the aftermath of their explosion caught their attention. Is that? He zipped over and helped a scorched Kakashi up. Guy. His normal and Sharingan eyes swept over the broken, scattered, and torched bodies of innocents around him. Yeah? He couldn't hear him, but he didn't need to. I'm pissed. The first gate gave way to the second gate in his brain, negating the stifling conditions of his wounds. Haven't felt this way in a long time. He tore the half-burnt mask off his face to reveal an unreasonably handsome scowl. Guy, realizing he couldn't hear him, strafed into his view. The palace's defenses are beyond compromised. I figured. Turning to the palace itself, his Sharingan swept over the small number of shelter seekers. Take Lee with you to guard the daimyo. If anyone, and I mean anyone, approaches that isn't us or you're unsure is one of us, kill them, no half measures. He would have protested if their objective and their enemy were anyone else. Right. He zipped to Lee, picked him up like a box, and zoomed through the palace. What the? The Kibas looked from the brief afterimage of the two to the other approaching Jonin. Do! They blinked at the man's actual face. Why do you wear the mask? Dosu finally managed to pick himself up. I take back what I said about being a real ninja. His good eye widened at his sensei. Don't take this the wrong way, but you're hot. I know. He deadpanned. Follow me. Without turning quite to the other group, he kept his Sharingan on the ground as well as the gaps in what was left of their defenses. The bodies of men, women, and children he could recognize as such by the rubble only fed his tranquil fury. Sakura felt a weight fall off her shoulders at the sight of them. Kaka. The perfect jawline on his face turned hers as pink as her hair. Tenten's matched. Damn. Whatever plans of infiltration they had, if there were any to begin with, are minimal or gone now. Kakashi's Sharingan kept scanning. A full-force assault would be the next move, maybe with more suicide bombers. He glanced at his other student's confused face. The one I took down was a normal shadow clone, but it left its clothes behind. Sasuke explained, eyes doing the same. Recalling the hand sign and the damage his took, he almost scoffed. If it's just Haiden, all we have to do is find him. He had a clone endure blowing itself up. Shouldn't that have knocked the others unconscious if they're all the same? Sakura asked. We're probably dealing with more than one monster. Tenten raised an eyebrow at her. Didn't you drive a kunai through your Naruto's spine? As crippling as a wound that would have been if he actually took it, that's not an intense enough trauma to take the original down. Kakashi said. It's best if we still keep an eye out. He hummed. I am surprised there hasn't been anyone trying to come up from the ground though. Still hard for me to hear anything aside from the ringing with the backdrop of all the screaming and crying. Dosa said. Kiba and Akamaru snarled. All I can smell is blood and soot. Then you're both just able bodies. He glanced at his other student again. We're staying here until further notice. I know, Sasuke said. He also knew he was saying that to himself more than him. He looked to the small group of civilians, 3 shaking children among them, that hadn't gone into the palace itself. You're better off testing your luck in the city than staying here. A frown formed on his lips. We will kill you if you act suspicious, or you'll die in a crossfire with our enemy. We were hired to protect the daimyo, not you. More than half of his group wanted to protest, but he was right. The palace contained Haiden's true target, and he just killed who knew how many civilians just creating openings its walls. If he were unconscious, attacking it was likely the first thing he'd do when he woke up. He, even if he may have been out of explosives, was someone on the level of a Jonin at the very least. A burning capital city of a land with a ninja village stood as proof to that. With those words, they shared looks and shambled away from the palace. The adults covered the children's eyes for a time before it became clear they couldn't explain the bodies they were stepping on. It wasn't like they didn't know already. No one at their age would ever forget, but everyone there would remember that night for the rest of their lives. Peace and innocence were lost. The shinobi split once more. Kakashi manned the massive opening in their defenses with the kibis, Dosu on the wall walkway. Sakura stayed on the ground by Sasuke while Tenten manned the wall. When one was attacked, they'd stay in position because their enemy already struck from multiple angles. Each would assist the other if one was having more difficulty though. A few minutes passed. Then even more flew by. Only silence and the fires throughout the city grew. While they remained prepared, it was still off-putting. Smoke, fire, and the countless bodies made them feel like they were in hell. For many of the civilians still left, they may as well have been. Naruto and Orochimaru left immediately after at the latter's behest. Tadanaga was somewhat disappointed, but he understood they couldn't linger. Enko and Hinata dropped out of sight, which made Torian and Sai come out of hiding to join them. No words needed to be exchanged. Returning to their normal selves, they followed their target into the wilderness close enough for the Byakugan to follow but far enough that the two couldn't hear them. What's the hurry? Naruto asked, jumping from tree branch to tree branch at breakneck speeds. Did you not feel it? Orochimaru's eyes narrowed. Someone was watching us. Hinata frowned behind her mask. They know something is wrong. Naruto shot him a look. I thought the daimyo were off limits. He grimaced at his laugh. When one becomes too uppity, they are deposed with help from their heir or undermined in such a way they're seen as illegitimate, like the wind daimyo was after the sand's attack on the leaf. Orochimaru hummed. Most likely, we were the real targets. He tilted his head, pondering if it was Danzo or a desperate Tsunade. Lips thinning into a line, he looked ahead into the dark forest. How long are you going to act like you don't know? Orochimaru kept his eyes toward their destination. Know what? His student stopping on a branch drove him to. They've stopped, Hinata said, doing the same. Anko clucked her tongue as she followed her lead, sticking to the trunk. We really should just confront them now. Their headquarters must be located first as they may escape. Sigh deadpan from another. If they suspect something, what makes you think they'll risk it? Following and waiting for an opening is the best option regardless. Fine. Anko spat. Guess I owe you two for leaving you out. Naruto rolled his eyes after staring for more than a few seconds. Let's just rip the fucking band-aid off. Is Hinata alive? If he had Anko's memories, he had Kimimara's as well as the flunkies, and he wasn't exactly making an effort to hide that knowledge. The girl in question blinked. What? I don't know, Orochimaru admitted. She's not important to me outside of her relationship with you. He almost pouted. It's not as if I can have the Hyuga compound itself infiltrated to check. Then why don't you just have? Drifting off, he realized it wasn't a good idea to say Kabuto's name if they were being watched. Whatever. I'll find out for myself sooner or later. Oh, you will, Hinata whispered to herself even as the others looked at her. When they began moving again, they resumed following. Their path, not that their stalkers knew, was straight to the main hideout. It took some time for Naruto to realize that though. He was confused for a moment before realizing he was planning an ambush, which explained why he didn't have them hide their movements by digging through the earth. Fact, that's what he'd been planning for a different target eluded him though. It took a little over an hour to reach their destination. Naruto and Orochimaru went to the land of Rice's capital by walking the roads, seeking to be as inconspicuous as possible and kill time. The forests were known bandit hovels and eliminating any that bothered following during daylight would have been a chore. Warning signs, figurative ones, were posted outside Mori town for such nuisances. His help in making them were waiting in the central chamber. Naruto! Yugo embraced him the second he walked in. He hugged him back. Hey! What are you guys doing up? Celebrating the new year? Letting go as he did, he looked to the questioning faces of the other two before setting it on Orochimaru. Do you want to or should I? We're here! Hinata could barely contain her excitement. It's just up ahead. Sai and Torian took point. We will survey the entrance and the surrounding area. He looked back at them from behind his mask. You must neutralize Tadanaga Akio. Their continued movements told them what they thought. There's no way in hell they're going to actually try taking them on their own. Anko stopped on a branch, driving her student to while they kept going. If we can't grab Naruto, we still need something out of this or Blowjob Slug Princess is going to fuck with all of us. But Anko-sensei. Hinata froze and shivered. Aye. Non-existent snakes coiled around her body. I'm sorry. She collapsed onto the branch. I'm sorry. Anko hopped over, wrapped her arms around her, and picked her up. I forgive you. The frown beneath her mask didn't do her displeasure justice. I want him too, and we will take him back, even if he somehow manages to get away. That's a promise. Thank you, Anko-sensei. Hinata blushed as she got her bearings. She turned back to where they came. Let's go pay Tadanaga a visit. He's been long overdue for neutering. A little less than the time it took to get to the Sound Villages did they take to get back to the palace. The Censor Ninja were still ridden with Torian's insects, and would likely be for the next day. Some of the elite shinobi were awake but lax. Lord of Nothing himself slept between two of his favorite concubines in his personal chambers. No one disturbed either of the servants they stowed away. Like shadows, they dropped from the walls and stuck to the darkness. Guards would look at them yet see nearly nothing, the moonlight turning their dark colors pitch black. Their footsteps made no noise as they crept into the walkways of the palace proper. Neither needed hand seals to transform back into their disguises. A few actual servants they passed looked curious as to where they'd been, but, disliking who they impersonated due to their overly gossiping ways, said nothing little more than teasing comments about the boy. The 2 guards outside their lord's door were subject to an absolutely perfect use of the optic delusory jutsu, and a genjutsu meant to lessen a target's senses besides sight to pass unnoticed courtesy of Hinata. All the 2 kunoichi had to do was slide the door open, walk inside, and shut it behind them. Each shared a look before going to opposite sides of the bed. Lightning chakra streaming through the concubine's synapses ensured neither could wake up any time soon. Some nudging stirred their target from his rest. Who dares? He looked from one mask to the other. Oh. Lifting his upper body up, he rubbed his eyes and yawned. Before one of you goes on some tirade about how I must do whatever you wish, you should know your only chances of getting out of this palace alive and well depend on my health. Anko would have laughed if it didn't have a chance of alerting anyone. Talking about your pathetic excuse for shinobi guards? Her voice was her normal tone. Judging by your accent, you're from the Leaf. He stroked his chin before looking both of them up and down. One thread about informing the other villages of this incident, and they'll give you to me. The women beside him were warm yet limp. What more fitting fate for you who treated my concubines so roughly? A smirk formed on his lips. I'll take such good care of you that you'll never want to go back to your village. Bear me a son who can manipulate chakra, and I'll recognize him as my heir. I never understood why you didn't just pay a rogue kunoichi to give birth to one. She flinched. On second thought, if they're willing to do that, they're probably crazy enough to kill the kid, and that's just horrible. He nodded. Yuji. Recognition of her casual, harsh, and playful way of speaking made him freeze. Anko? She took off her mask to reveal her grinning face. Long time no see, Tadanaga. You've grown, not that I'm complaining. He frowned. The free hair is a good touch, but I liked your old outfit better. Walking around with my tits out all the time was pretty fun. Added a coat over the fishnets to be more teasing over sexy though. Just like a woman. He looked to the other's legs. Speaking of. His gaze rose steadily, as if licking up her body. Covered up yet still exposed. I understand, Anko, but you have an air of dignity. She twitched. Hey. Climbing on to the end of his bed, she beckoned the girl to join her. What does that mean when you wanted me so much? Her arms wrapped around her body and held her close. Besides, she's mine. His eyes widened in surprise as well as interest. How scandalous. Show him. Anko nuzzled the side of her hooded head while he ogled them. Don't be shy. Oh yes, don't be. The excitement gave way to disappointment when her hand grabbed her own mask. I appreciate a pretty face as much as... Vain of blank eyes adorning a cute, red face with no seal to speak of on its forehead killed all feeling in them. That's a Hyuga, of the main branch. His jaw dropped. Have you gone mad without your master, or has your village after his attack? She hummed. A bit of both, to be honest. Looking down, her grin widened. Now come on. Yes, Anko-sensei. Hinata moved her body as if she were squirming in her embrace, focusing on aligning a tenketsu point perfectly with her target. Naruto is the only man I will ever bear the children of. He blinked. Are you high? His body thumped onto the bed, twitching. It's done. She returned her nuzzling. Good girl. With a pat of her head, she slid off the bed and onto her feet. Let's go bring him back. The mask fit perfectly back onto her face as Hinata's did hers. It would be anything but simple. None of the Leaf Ninja were sure what to think after over 2 hours of nothing. They had shadow clones assure the daimyo and the green beasts everything was alright every half hour. It meant their enemy was either working alone or gave up. On one hand, the former made their job easier. Latter, on the other hand, left them with neither comfort nor the opportunity for catharsis. While they could search the city for him, it was just 2 of them that recognized his chakra signature, and would leave the rest open for an attack from below. Civilians were either trying to put out the fires or rummaging through the massed pile of bodies around the palace looking for their loved ones. Thankfully, they saw few children looking for their parents, or weeping by their corpses. Some thought it was because they were likely dead though, not that they wanted to. All were tempted to help and would have if not for their mission. Ninja native to the land being absent meant they were likely helping those in the city, or somehow in on it. Sasuke, eyes back to normal for the sake of conserving chakra, squinted at 2 distant people stepping over the bodies with blurs of red by their shoulders. Is that? His Sharingan activated and he clenched his hands into fists. He's coming! Kakashi opened his at the sound of Sasuke's yell, seeing two familiar men with the same odd chakra. There's two here. Are there two on your end? Dosa asked far from his teammate. Yeah, Sasuke answered. They're heading right for us. Can you hear them? With some concentration, he could differentiate them from the far more subdued choir of the burning city. It's just the 4 clones from what I can tell. Just like with Naruto. Tenten grimaced as she pulled out a scroll containing an arsenal of kunai. The Kibis growled. This time, we're not going to fail. All of their training couldn't have been for nothing. Sakura glared at the approaching figures. Real one is either nearby or among them hoping to slip through. Think you can take them out before they reach us? Dosa asked, massaging his sore spots. I'm not in the mood for another explosion. Neither am I. Kakashi created 2 clones of his own and watched them sink into the ground. Tenten. Sakura called out. She didn't look down at her. Why don't you just do that headhunter thing? Just because I can dig underground doesn't mean I can see what's up top. Naruto's excited yelling about Choji's stunt let her know exactly where he was. And there might be bodies in the way. I can. Sasuke created 2 clones. Just let yours follow mine's directions. Sakura nearly slapped herself. Right. She dug her blade into the ground and made the shadow clone jutsu sign, matching his with her own 2 pairs. You know what to do. The Sakuras refrained from their desires to fawn over the Sasukes in favor of fulfilling their duty. While they followed the orders of their fellow clone partners, the Kakashis zipped through the earth. Haiden or whoever he was had a greater than nothing chance of knowing the most convenient element. It'd be easier for them if he didn't, but that wouldn't mean much if he was as good outside wanton slaughter as he was with. Preventing potential explosives from reaching the palace was their true purpose anyway. Kakashi's clones reached their targets first. Their hands shot out of the earth between corpses and grabbed the enemy clones' ankles. Neither exploded before they were pulled under, remains being forced aside to make space, or after. Each glared down at their respective victims, who could only blink in surprise. If it wasn't practically guaranteed they'd pop when struck, they'd do more than just hit them. Headhunter Sensor Ninja. The gray-haired clones said in unison. Fuck. They bit their own tongues off, popping themselves, to relay the information. Damn it. The Kakashis, seeing no clothes laced with explosive tags in the holes, dispelled themselves with hand signs. The other 2 clones' eyes widened. Oh shit. Jumping back, they narrowly avoided a pair of feminine hands. Nice try. They streamed wind chakra through their triple-bladed cabled sides before swiping through several bodies, the earth, and the clones. A disappointed sigh left both at the distinctive poof noise. Forbidden jutsu everyone and their mother knows. Eyeing the blood on the blades, they clucked their tongues. Sasuke and Sakura frowned and snarled respectively. Damn it. There are no explosives on them, Kakashi said. Dosa nodded. According to our sensei, they're not carrying explosives. Can't shadow clones be explosive though? Kiba asked. Explosive shadow clones? He scoffed. How do you not know that while being on your team? What's that supposed to mean? Just try not to engage in melee. Kakashi wanted to sigh. Tell the other group to go ahead from range. Sensei says to take them out without getting close. Dosu informed. It's a shadow clone fight then. Sakura picked her sword out of the ground in reverse grip, stuck out 2 fingers, and crossed them with her other hands. Please don't disobey. Sasuke made the same sign. They'll do it for me. Her blush would have made him want to smile if they were in a far less dire situation. Tenten glanced at their copies before returning focus to their enemies. I can work with this distance. Onsen City was already consumed in violence and death. Chapter 60, Haiden. Perplexed and annoyed faces were on the 3 in the Sound Village headquarters heart. They had orders, but there was little sense in them unless they lacked consideration for their own lives. Kabuto told them to keep awake, silent about his presence, and on their guard earlier that day before burrowing underground. Something beyond their knowledge was happening. It'd be tolerable if their leaders weren't being coy and hadn't slipped out through the earth. Are they still there? Suigetsu asked. Karen groaned. Yes. The hell are they waiting for? He lifted a water bottle to his lips. Not like they're going to get reinforcements here. Probably that, just not a sizable amount. Yugo tapped a finger anxiously against the side of his head. Why don't we just go out and kill them now? The looks he got did not deter him. Maybe you should go see Naruto. But he told me to stay here. He pouted at the memory of his stare when he protested. Suigetsu took a few gulps and rolled his eyes. He gets to sleep and fuck while we're stuck maybe waiting to die. That's not how he and Rika are like. Karen would have slapped him if it wouldn't have gotten his body fluid on her hand. What else could they be? He scoffed. I told you he was bathing her. Didn't sound like the first time either. Raising a finger, he set down the bottle. And before you say she's blind, I've heard her make her own baths while Naruto was napping, so unless you go or you've been doing it, she can do that herself. Rika reminds Naruto of something precious to him. She felt her heart ache at the thought. He knows she isn't who he wants her to be, but he can't help himself. A shaky sigh left her lips. Being around her brings him peace, even if it's for a little while. Her vision blurred. Doesn't sound good. She nodded. It's not. Could be worse, Yugo said, being the best example. That still doesn't mean he should keep her around. Where else is she going to go? Suigetsu asked. A blind girl with no prospects? Lucky she's pretty, or she'd be stuck as a beggar for the rest of her life. He squinted at Karen's look. What fucking wonderland did you grow up in? Just what kind of shithole did you come from? The kind where we made kids looking to get up in the world kill each other. He tilted his high-caste Hozuki head. Okay, maybe I'm not the best person to talk about this kind of stuff. Remembering her complete lack of skills outside of her blood and what her kinsman taught her, she did the same. Me either. Can we go out and kill them? Yugo asked, black marks spreading across his face. I want to kill them. You said they were both men, one of them with weird bug-like chakra. He frowned. I want to kill a woman. Been a while since I've done one. Karen jumping back made him glance a yellow-on-black eye at her. What? Insects, unknowingly to them, crawled around the base. They burrowed into the earth outside, skittered across the floor, and flew past them without care. Several infested their bodies in accordance with their master's orders. When they moved, it would be with every advantage. Failure could not be seen as an option if they wanted to succeed. Four shadow clones walked through a field of corpses. Both halves eyed each other, taking note of whatever qualities seemed important. Each were too focused to lose their footing on such uneven ground, but it was still a factor to consider. Civilians that were looking for their loved ones among the fallen either ignored them, watched from afar, or cleared out. The dense atmosphere only worsened as they closed the distance between each other. Laughing in tandem with its fellow clone, the copy held the handle of its scythe with both hands as it did the same. Look! It blinked at an illusionary tree encompassing its body. When? A lip bite broke it out in time to block a sword swipe from the pink clone aimed at its neck. Nice! With a jerk of its scythe's grip, it flung the trapped blade away. But different weight CLA. The pink copy's fist in its liver cut it off. Did that hurt? 3 blades swiping through its body reduced it, and its knocked-away sword to smoke. Yeah. It blocked another triple-bladed, albeit whistling, scythe from the side without looking. You know wind beats lightning, right? The extremely sharpened clone metal cut straight through its vibrating twin into the other enemy clone, popping it. I'd give you points for effort. More than a few kunai missed him by inches thanks to some channeled wind chakra. But if that's all what half of 2 of you and a whole of 1 could do against a third of me, you're not worth much. Looking at its twin, it raised an eyebrow at its twitching, frozen form. What kind of genjutsu are you in? Tenten twitched at the ineffectiveness of her ninja tools. I hate wind style so much. She tried learning it, but her chakra affinity was water, which she still couldn't use. Sasuke looked up as he created another clone. Under genjutsu, I know. She rested a hand on the Dedeo Blade's scroll by her hip. Care if I jump in? He hasn't used his assassination jutsu yet, Sakura yelled, following his lead. Her hand returned to her side. Right. Groaning, she shook her head. Him being a giant asshole doesn't mean you should rush in and get your heart stabbed. The free clone popped the trapped one, dispersing its ruined scythe copy and receiving some much-needed information. Let me guess. Turning to the approaching figures while keeping its sight below their eyes, it squinted. Your clones? A frown adorned its face at their lack of response. I know I started this, but can we not? Brief hesitation in their steps let it know they were listening. Trust me, I'd annihilate you in a battle of attrition. It'd just be really boring. Are you seriously trying to negotiate anything after what you've done? The Sakura clone yelled. Yes. It deadpanned. Consider this a professional courtesy. A half of Sasuke twitched. You bombed a city! Not like it was one of yours! Its casual, friendly tone was more than inappropriate to them. What the hell is wrong with you? The two yelled in unison. You mean like with my goals and all this or me personally? Settling into a stance as they got in mid-range, it scratched its cheek with a finger. All of you are going to die so. It shrugged. I'm reminding the idiots that dwell in this land what world we live in. Clone Sakura's face scrunched even more. Because of the hidden Steam Village's demilitarization? Pretty much. Then what was all that religious posturing in your threat? Clone Sasuke asked. I'm a man of faith. It patted the emblem around its neck. Or at least the shadow clone of one. An honest smile spread across its face. Have you heard of our Lord and Savior Jashin? Who? Clone Sakura squinted at it. Is that your god? The one and only Pinky. Clone Sasuke scoffed. What kind of god would condone this? It gestured toward the bodies. I thought shinobi from a land that hadn't lost its balls would understand. Sighing, it shook its head. We are death and sacrifice. Every single one of us is expendable. Those who cannot mold chakra are just our herd of sheep, the expendable among the expendable. It looked out at the latest in the countless lives the original had taken. All of us die in the end. What does it matter if it's decades or a few seconds from now? Our collective existences amount to nothing but suffering and despair. Death is salvation, and fear of it is the greatest ignorance as well as the worst torture. You're insane. Clone Sakura gaped. The enlightened often appear as such to the ignorant. Can you just fight already? Dosa asked, having heard the entire conversation. He's obviously out of his mind. Clone Sasuke failed to establish proper eye contact for its genjutsu to work. And out of your range. He looked down at their sensei. We should jump in to assist. I heard him say he had 2 clones and now he's down to 1. There was still a chance he had help, but it was minimal at that point. You shouldn't trust a word that comes out of your enemy's mouth in a confrontation, especially against one like this. Kakashi said. Good point, but it really seems like he's acting alone. Don't make me repeat myself, Dosu. He relented as the clones resumed fighting. It wasn't as if Kakashi was against the idea, but their mission was too important to risk in the slightest. All of them were more than on edge. When it was over, they wouldn't have the heart to relax for some time. Everything he heard and witnessed were tragedies beyond his imagination. Clone Hyden watched the clone girl circle around it while the Uchiha clone charged. It closed its eyes over rolling them. The backdrop of crying, sizzling fire, and screams faded away in favor of their movements. Normally, their strategy would have been a good one. Silent killing, unfortunately for them, was practically mandatory for Ambu. A wind chakra-infused scythe swept through its upfront enemy several feet before it was in range and around through the other thanks to its reach-extending cable in the blink of an eye. This guy's good. Sakura formed the shadow clone sign again. Sasuke followed her lead. Taijutsu, Genjutsu, and your Kenjutsu are out. Tenten observed the clone scythe with some interest. It was obviously far less effective without wind chakra thanks to the added surface area of the 2 extra blades. When it was swung, it required chakra to be viable as anything other than a blood-drawing tool. Shinobi, as much as they wanted to, couldn't use more than a single jutsu at a time. Either it was somehow concentrating wind chakra all around its body and through its weapon or it could only do one. Clone Sasuke took note of the cable. The previous clone could have dodged it by inches, but that would have given away their exact ability. While the scythe was tethered, it could be used like a whip and almost as fast. Severing it as well as the real one was the wisest course of action. Drawing him out would be tricky though. Hiding its one-handed seals behind its back from the approaching figure, the Sakura clone looked to its partner. Trap and dust? Trap and dust. It formed the bird, tiger, and ram signs as it brought a hand down on the earth between corpses. Their enemy didn't need to see the earth walls aside from the one in front of it to know they were going to restrict its movements. It readied its scythe with wind chakra, leaped over, and realized its folly. A kunai pierced its throat before a super thunderbolt ran through its nerves. No cost-benefit analysis was needed for it to reflexively choose dispersing over enduring. Far from the palace, the real Hyden clucked his tongue. Troublesome. The copy ninja and the last Uchiha. I knew he'd hire from one of the greats, but still. He tilted his head. I could just leave the city. Drifting off, his face scrunched in disgust. Jashin would never forgive me, and where's the fun in that? Baby daimyo is going to die. A mewling in his arms caught his attention. Its blanket was somewhat red with blood. They were from its father and mother, who were laying off to the side of the apartment they were in. Neither wanted to risk its life, but they couldn't leave the city. Like their good neighbor said, they shouldn't have been afraid of the inevitable. What left the looks of horror and despair on their faces was knowing it'd be in his hands. Uncle Hideki didn't mean you, baby Daigo. He tapped his little nose. You are free of sin and fear. Those ninja, on the other hand. With a hum, he rocked the baby. Definitely more than one team. 2 jonin, 2 chunin who might qualify for jonin, at least 1 chunin, and 3 others I don't know about. Genjutsu, Bukijutsu, and Ninjutsu. They tried rushing me for taijutsu. I need to either whittle away their defenses or sneak past them, and that's kind of impossible at this point with everyone clear of the palace. As much as he didn't want to, a battle of attrition was the best option to reach his goal. They could take soldier pills, but that wouldn't save them from his secret weapon. He needed a single drop of blood from an actual person. He never got to test if it worked on the original with shadow clones, and now was not the time to. It was better for him if they were overly defensive. Neither the dowager lady or the former daimyo's stooge could inform them because they didn't know either. It'd be almost impossible to win against him even if they knew, as long as he kept his position though. Going after them himself would have drastically increased his chances of failure. Hold on. He set the baby on the coach before holding his clean scythe between his upper arm and side. Really wish I stored just a bit more explosive tags. Forming the shadow clone jutsu sign, he spawned 3 other imps into existence. The Sasuke and Sakura clones sat on top of the open cube the latter formed. While it was intended to have a ceiling, the Haiden clone jumped out before it could be trapped inside. Both originals complemented Tenten's remarkably well-timed throw, something she appreciated very much. All of them were irritated by the lack of immediate movements, but it was to be expected after a repelled assault. His next was, in their minds, supposed to be directed at another side before his clones came into view. Clone Sakura squinted at them. I thought you said you didn't want to fight a battle of attrition. What can I say? Another clucked its tongue. You're a pain in the ass. The original was far more used to quick, one-sided fights and assassinations. He's attacking them again, Dosu informed. Kiba looked to the jonin by him. Why are we just standing around? Obviously it's just the one guy at this point. If we gang up on a few clones, we'll give Haiden and whoever is with him, if he's with anyone to begin with, an opportunity to slip by. Kakashi held up a finger. We still have no idea how he performs his assassination jutsu. Another joined it. Even if Guy and Lee manage to kill him, what if he takes one of them or the daimyo with him? One more made 3. You can either try to live with yourself knowing your rash actions got a comrade killed or after whatever our stressed, overworked Hokage does to us when we tell her we failed, again. 2 more left it at 5. She can't just do whatever she wants with us. His face scrunched as Akamaru, back to his red dog self, barked to affirm his words. Would your mother object as long as you were alive and able? He shot him a look. Need I remind you Lady Tsunade has remained the world's leading healing ninjutsu expert in spite of her absence? Damn it. Kakashi's scowl worsened. Believe me, you aren't the only one who wants to tear him apart. Speaking of, Dosu tilted his head at a distant chorus of whirling metal, grunts, and crazed laughter. A fourth of Haiden was still a dangerous opponent, but not beyond the 3 holding them back. There wasn't much any could do during their sloppier sidewhip swings save move if they didn't connect. Silent killing still required focus, so their attacks were even more awkward than they'd normally be, and they stumbled over the corpses. It left them open for many reprisals. Of course, that left their opponents open to reprisals as well, and they outnumbered them. They took blows so they could better give them in turn. Anything crippling or disabling one's overall ability made them immediately disperse and replaced by clones of clones. Being a fraction of a fraction, they were easier to deal with, but that just meant more wasted energy on their part. Some transformed into rats with miniature version of their sides wrapped around their bodies to skitter by. None could get past Tenten, whose catharsis was almost self-indulgent. Nearly half an hour of back and forth clone combat passed. While the Leaf clones knew it was unwise to use ninjutsu, they were forced to on some occasions. Tenten wasn't anywhere close to running out of ninja tools to use and wouldn't be unless their fight lasted for the rest of New Year's Day. One fact throughout that entire time concerned the Sasukes. The Haidens were regaining their chakra and their wounds were healing as fast they got them. Rest was the only way a ninja could regain chakra beyond infusions from someone else, which only a few could do. "We can't keep going like this," Clone Sasuke, heaving, said. The nearest clone of Haiden laughed. "You finally get it." Others joined it in laughter. "Only a matter of time with those eyes, but a little too late." Another advanced with its closed and nearly tripped over a body. "I tell you, we're only here for the kid, but we all know how these things end, don't we?" "Okay," Dosa said. "We really should jump in now. Something's up with this guy. And this could be the moment he or his allies have been waiting for," Kakashi argued. Kiba gave him a look while Akamaru whined. "I know we can't fuck this up, but we should at least help somehow or do something. We're letting our enemy control this entire situation." He glanced off to the side before sighing. "You're right." Looking up, he took a step forward. "Dosa, stay here and call for help if you hear movements." A wave of his hand beckoned the others as he started running. "Follow me. Let's do this," he and his pet went after with grins on their faces. The real Sakura, feeling the sleep deprivation compounded by her gradual loss in chakra, looked to her real partner. "We should use our soldier pills." She fished with her free hand for the tablet in her pouch. "This guy must be on something. His chakra and his body are both acting in ways I've never seen before." Sasuke glared at one of the distant clones. "In ways that shouldn't be possible." "What do you mean?" she asked as Dosa did the same. "Your liver blow did nothing to one of the first two, wounds to their torso not affecting their spines don't bother them in the least, and they've been regaining their chakra." Scoffing, she flicked open the tablet with her thumb. "This fucking guy." A jerk of her hand launched the pill into her mouth. Dosa shook his head. "We have to find and kill the real one. He could be anywhere in the city." Clone dispersing due to the sudden change in the original's body, she created another carrying her rejuvenated vigor. Teten again threw a kunai into the throat of a clone Haiden, rearing a swipe at the clone's Sasuke. "If Niji were here." She relieved some frustration by doing the same to another. "Any sensor ninja, really? We'll make do." Kakashi skidded to a halt by them with Kiba and Akamaru barely a few feet behind. "Sasuke, I need you to man the other side of the palace walls and have clones look for the real enemy. You can follow the real one, Sakura. The fires in the bodies make tracking by scent difficult, if he hasn't erased it, so the three of us are not much use there. Dosa will stay here." Murder sparked in his eyes at the sight of the red scythe-wielding clones. "I'll take care of these. Noise is mostly gone, and I know what this guy sounds like. I can probably help," Dosa said. Kiba frowned. "I want to fight too." "Really want your heart stabbed?" Kakashi asked, creating his own shadow clone. "Your potential sacrifice will be appreciated yet entirely unnecessary." Dosa nodded. "All right. Just do something about your own pounding one." He stared out at the field of corpses on his side. "Thought learning the shadow clone jutsu would be redundant with Akamaru already in perfect sync with me." Kiba sighed as his dog whimpered. Kakashi watched his double approach the enemy. "Guess again." The Haidens took notice of Sasuke's clone half running into the city while the pink one poofed. "Should one of us stop him?" They all looked to each other before the new approaching challenger drew their attention. "Oh shit, Hataki. He's hot." One froze at the realization it said that out loud. Another scoffed. "Suck his dick, why don't you? You were all thinking it. But you sigh." The point of a whistling kunai jutted out its throat. The closest clone to Kakashi's swung its scythe in response. "When?" Another kunai from Tenten popped both before the wind-enhanced blades could get near her clone ally. Clone Kakashi took note of the farthest and densest of the Haiden clones. Its fingers were closing to intersect in slow motion thanks to its Sharingan eye. More than that, it saw wind chakra emitting from its body to ward off ninja tools. That wasn't the perfect defense against them, especially for something with the original's abilities. It drew a copy of a kunai from its ninja tool pouch, streamed fire chakra through its metal, and threw what looked like a smoldering giant arrowhead. Tenten frowned at it. "He's go!" She blinked as the fire only grew in response to the wind, skewering the clone's throat with ease. "I need that." "Idiot!" One of the other clones laughed. "Now we're strobe." Several more fire kunai dispelled it alongside its fellow copies. Just two were left. They realized immediately Kakashi was less concerned about preserving chakra because of the Uchiha hunting the real one. His ability was more refined than the astonishing rookie's as well. If he didn't know about his odd qualities, he'd find out soon thanks to his own Sharingan. Neither could afford making mistakes or being divided from the other. Again, the Haiden nearest to clone Kakashi attacked. Look! It was dispersed by Tenten's latest kunai. Let's do this. The single clone of Haiden left said, eyes closed. A half of Jashin's chosen against a half of the copy ninja. Kakashi's clone glared at it. I have no idea what that is or means, and I don't care. Ease up, tough guy. Shifting its sides so the blades were behind it, they nearly ripped into a flickering clone Kakashi's throat. I know you're a student of the Yellow Flash, but still. It would have glanced behind it if that wouldn't give an opening to the Sharingan's genjutsu. It drove its last kunai into its wrist, and pulled its other arm behind its back. You didn't disperse yourself, so Sasuke is close to the real you. Shifting its grip to make its footing awkward, it kicked out a faltering leg. There are conditions. It grabbed the back of its head before driving its face into the ground between corpses. For that assassination jutsu of yours. Really, it was tricking the Kakashi into thinking the real him was close. Obvious at this point, isn't it? It gave a cry when its finger broke. There's no reason to listen to what a feral dog manages to say. You were Umbu, weren't you? It opened its eyes to the dirt. Way you carry yourself, the caution you've had everyone take, and whatever offense you feel I've made to you personally. Laughing, it nearly looked back at it. Those kids think I'm out of my mind, but you know exactly what I'm doing. Probably did something like this yourself. Another broken finger didn't faze the Haiden. Different because I wasn't under orders, right? I killed people who didn't need to die. Come on, you know it's bullshit. The villages never needed. They wanted. And when they didn't want more, they threw you away, right? Shut up. Breaking another of its fingers, it tried to ignore how much those words reminded it of Naruto's. Clone Haiden groaned at how typical its response was. You're not an idiot, and you know who I am. Gotta know that lady and the old daimyo hired me for something in the past too. It didn't need to look back to see its stiff expression. The first thing you all thought when you saw the kid was how someone that young could be a daimyo. Answer to that question is I helped kill the closest successors and staged their deaths as accidents. Everyone else vying for the position after Kisame Hashigaki's fuck-up fell in line. Scoffing, it shook its head. Wasn't the first time either. The brat's granddad couldn't keep his dick in his pants. Smother one bastard and you've smothered them all. You're just lashing out under the guise of doing what needs to be done. Believe whatever you want. It shrugged. Even if you somehow stop me, I'll have accomplished what I set out to. The Kakashi clone glared. We have our mission. Yeah, I know. With a sharp twist of its body against the hold, Clone Haiden broke its own arm to bite into the surprised clone Kakashi's cheek. It sent it down with a slam of its forehead protector against the top of its head. Desper. 8. The grinning black-skinned and skull-faced Haiden at its feet made it furrow its brow. Oh. Tenten and Kiba squinted at the sudden change in appearance before the clone poofed. Was that? Fuck it. The original Haiden, now bearing the same features, said. He set the baby on the couch and used his scythe to sever his own brachial artery. If this doesn't work, I'll have to find some other way or really leave. With his foot, he drew the symbol around his neck on the floor using the flowing blood. Numerous clones of Sasuke scoured the city with their Sharingan. Their lack of results disheartened them, but trying and failing was better than doing nothing. All wanted to help those stumbling about trying to prevent more damage. Chances were that'd add to it though. Shinobi were why everything was burning. Mori Town was almost completely silent at night. If there were New Year's celebrations, they were already done with. Only faint footsteps on tiles could be heard. Pitch black darkness covered the entire area like a peerless fog. Their former lord decreed Shinobi alone to walk out at night for the safety of the citizens, and his successor didn't care enough to change policy. The night patrol stopped by two vaguely familiar approaching figures once before running from their looks. No guards were outside the lord's house to receive the same treatment. Orochimaru walked up the walls to the rooftop, not needing sleep and waiting to see what was going to happen. His apprentice, not trusting him, went to the only person who stayed behind. She was sleeping in her futon when he entered her room. Not sure what to do, he just sat down. His thoughts drifted to one person, and the girl near him reminded him of her. Sleep was tempting yet potentially left him open to whoever was after them. It would endanger her too. That was unacceptable. Naruto? He nearly jumped. Did I wake you? She turned onto her back. I've been awake for some time. I fell asleep during the evening because it was so quiet. Without looking at him, she made him feel as if she was staring. We are pretty loud, he muttered. Is everything okay? Rika, is there anything you want? He rested his chin on his hand. To do, to eat, to be? No. There was no need for her to think she never had or was anyone to begin with, like many civilians and unfortunates. What about you? She turned to him after a full minute of silence. Naruto stared off into nothing. I had it for a moment, and I lost it. He could see little he really cared for waiting at the end of the path he chose. Now, I just do whatever I feel like. Better this way. Best this way. You like helping and protecting people, she said. You're a good person. Is that really what you think of me? He would have laughed if it weren't an honest question. It was something he wanted to ask the girl she reminded him of after her words in the practice field. There was no self-doubt left in his mind, but that didn't stop him from wondering how anyone could praise him outside his abilities. She smiled. I know it. First thing I did when I came here was kill people just wanting to defend it for just getting in my way. He looked up at the dark ceiling. I took women from their homes and lives to comfort me, even if I didn't sleep with them. Shaking his head, he sighed. Letting them go back and protecting this place were done off whims. I keep you around for the same reason. You were sad and lost, now you're home. There was some truth to her words, however optimistic. Chapter 61, Complications. Half of Team Guy and the leader of Team 7 stared at the latter's clone. It was created to take his place. Even then, they didn't know if the assassination jutsu would affect him. The Sharingan detected no change whatsoever, which only fit how strange the jutsu was. All they could do was observe. Kiba eyed the approaching bitten clone, who was rubbing its chin in thought. Why did he turn black? How can that be a factor in his jutsu? If I had any clue, the Kakashi said in unison. I'm not sure how knowing it would help. Can you die from what happens to your shadow clones? Tenten asked. Kakashi's clone hummed. Theoretically. It shared a look with the original. A shinobi could have several endure extremely traumatic wounds. Dispelling them all at once would force their body beyond its limits through the accumulated shock, killing them. She titled her head, not quite hearing them. What? It's complicated, Kiba shouted. Any last words, sensei? Dosa asked, correctly putting together what happened. You're kind of a dick, but I respect you. Fair enough. Kakashi's lips formed the line. Tell Sasuke and Sakura I'm proud of them. I'm even proud of you. They curved downward into a frown. And if any of you see Naruto again, tell him I'm sorry. His mind drifted to a warm memory of Minato and Kushina making him feel Naruto kicking in her pregnant belly. His parents loved him very much. Kiba frowned too. Dig move on your part, but none of the bad things in his life make him any less of one. Clone Kakashi sighed. I had no delusions of dying in my sleep at old age. It shot him a look alongside the original. I did not account for you though. Wincing, it shifted focus to the reddening right sleeve of its pants. So it doesn't affect us both, the real Kakashi said, glancing at its own normal sleeve. Can you copy it? Kiba asked. From what we've heard, this sounds like something beyond Kekkai Genkai. He observed the clone's side doing the same. I can't and maybe. While he couldn't see any change in its chakra, the wounds appearing on the clone reminded him of the Naro's shadow manipulation jutsu and the Yamanaka's mind transfer jutsu, which both employed specialized yin release. They passed it off as Kekkai Genkai so they'd be treated amicably rather than ruthlessly tortured if captured alive, like the Akimichi did their specialized yang release. Only those with the Leaf's dojutsu could realize that though. Groaning, its legs buckled at the sensation of its liver being pierced. Next target is... Yeah. Kakashi flinched at the veins in its eyes becoming pronounced. That looks pie. He dropped to his knees the second it poofed. Dosu almost laughed in relief. Oh good, you're still alive. The odd tempo of his heart threatened that judgment. Might want to take it easy though. He would have scolded him if he weren't in extreme discomfort. Kiba, don't engage in melee if he comes back. You can't even stand right now. Kiba scoffed. And what is Tenten going to do against this guy? Hey! She yelled, making him flinch and Akamera whine. Kakashi rolled his eyes. Get over here, Dosu. He wasn't winded like his teammates, could still perform his role as the team's comms, had an element very few ninja in existence were aware of, and it was unlikely their enemy would focus on them after what he just did. He turned and started running down the wall. I've gotta go, Sensei's calling me to reinforce. His eye narrowed in his direction. Aside from streaming wind chakra through his weapon and the shadow clones, he hasn't used much conventional jutsu, has he? Only remotely detonating explosive tags through fire style. Just wind and fire then. He can't use earth and hasn't used water or lightning yet. He blinked as ran onward. Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you his clones have been replenishing their chakra and don't seem to feel pain. His face scrunched. What? You heard me. Think it's some kind of drug the original took? If that's the case, it'd be revolutionary. What are you talking about? Kiba asked, being left outside of the long-distance conversation. Kakashi tried to stand and faltered. Haiden might be on some drug that lets him replenish his chakra during combat. He caught himself with a groan. Either that or he knows a superior version of the shadow clone jutsu. Finding the original is the only way we're going to win this, Dosa said. We need to hold off his clones until Sasuke's find him. His eye squinted. You know, if you just called me over and sent clones out looking for him with Sasuke's, things would be going better. His point made him want his heart to fail. I wanted to relieve some anger, and thought I'd be more than enough. Last time we saw you fight, Sakura of all people was puking over your knocked-out face. Kiba would have laughed if they were in a position where their lives didn't count on his ability. Did you forget the one before it where I beat the guy who killed Kimimaro without any effort? That's not how power works. Dosa scoffed. Then don't hold that one fight against me, dumbass. Fuck this guy. We should have killed him back during the attack on the village. Akamaru's bark affirmed his words. You know he heard you, right? Kakashi shot his somewhat embarrassed face a look. Out of our entire group, he's probably the most difficult to face. Please, you're just making that up. He is laying it on a little thick, Dosa said. But I probably am. He rolled his eye at a dog-like scoff. It's hard for me not to be. Am I supposed to feel bad for you? He isolated his voice to just his sensei's ears. Bit slow, isn't he? Let's not. Kakashi sighed. Trying to talk behind my back. Kiba spat. Some comrade you are. Dosa open-eye smiled. Coming from the guy who has no faith in his own teammate, he knew her abilities were lacking for their situation, but he saw an opening. Kakashi scowled. You're both childish idiots. Now, would you focus on our mission before your pissing match gets someone killed? They kept silent after his scolding. Really, the countless bodies around them should have sapped their belligerence. Both were still teenagers though, and they, like many people, had no idea how to process the massacre they witnessed. It made little sense to anyone present save Kakashi, who had experienced destabilizing small countries. After stabbing his heart and ruining 2 articles of clothing, Haiden created another clone to witness the results of his handiwork. It got several blocks away through the burning city before a Sasuke clone saw them. The lucky Sasuke waited for it to gain more distance so it could follow its trail undetected. Relief replaced its anxiety when it saw the original through a wall. Confusion followed suit at the sight of the innocent baby's chakra in his tumor-like arms. Sasuke's eyes widened at an influx of chakra and experience. I know where the real one is! He looked in his direction. Dosu, then by Kakashi's side, perked up. Good news, Sasuke found him. Let's kill the bastard! Kiba yelled, making him twitch. Ask him if he saw any clones or anything different about him, Kakashi said. We need to know more about his assassination jutsu. Did you see any clones or anything odd? Dosa asked. Sasuke focused on the field of corpses on his side. I tracked him from one's a clone made and not really, unless you count the sleeve of his right pant leg having a hole in it. What? There was a hole in the right sleeve of his pants, he affirmed. Some blood stained it, but he was walking just fine. Why? Dosu turned to his waiting sensei. You know how your clone got stabbed in the leg? So was that guy. Are you saying he hurt himself to hurt him? Kiba asked, line of thinking matching the Jonin's. Kakashi's eyes narrowed. Ask if there were any bloodstains on his chest. Was there one in his shirt? Dosu relayed. I only saw the clone's side. Sasuke shared an understanding look with an antsy Sakura. What's going on? He didn't see. Their sensei's expression was stalwart. Shinobi with ridiculous healing abilities existed, but he never heard of anything on the level he was thinking of. Healing ninjutsu only accelerated the natural healing process or substituted cell types while still leaving fatigue, which was inevitable from going through weeks to months' worth of recovery in moments. Red Reaper Haiden healed a pierced heart before he could lose enough blood to die. While somewhat correct, the truth was even more unbelievable. Boredom grew in Orochimaru's main hideout alongside the three denizens' agitation. Yugo took to mumbling about murder. Suigetsu and Karen watched him warily, rightfully expecting him to snap. In the time since, they began feeling off. They were confused before the only sensor type among them could finally make out the bug-like chakra in just the two of their chests. How? She looked down at her body. He hasn't even put his damn fingers together. Suigetsu shot her a look. Are we under genjutsu? Karen scoffed. The bug guy's chakra is inside us. Our network flows are normal. She looked to the unaffected sage. There's none inside you though. My body and my chakra are beyond anything in this world. Yugo grinned. When they come down here, I'll show them how. Body. Suigetsu drifted off, pondering. Bug-like chakra inside of us. He, remembering where their leaders were from, blinked. Oh shit. Karen turned to him. What is it? Don't panic. If you mean slapping you upside the head by panic, no. The sternness of his face unsettled her. Orochimaru and Naruto are definitely the biggest priorities to the Leaf right now. One of their clans, the Abirimi or whatever, have these bugs nest inside them. He normally would have shared her disgusted look. If you're just now noticing that kind of chakra in us, these things are so small we and this entire place are probably swarming in them. She shivered. WH what? My hydrification will save me. Yugo's body definitely ate the ones that went into him, and you. I'm screwed? Kabuto could see Naruto's cells with his healing ninjutsu, right? He looked to the spot in the ground where he sunk into. Is he still there? She vanished beneath the ground. It was one thing to be in life-threatening danger and another to be infested by parasites. Even if dying still scared her, little things living inside her evoked a primal fear she'd never taken into consideration. They needed to be out for the comfort of her mind as well as her own health. He roused from his resting position when he heard her coming. So you sensed H. His face scrunched at her, shaking him by the shoulders. Get them out of me. Suigetsu shook his head. Now he probably has them. Why did I say anything? I can kill her if she wants to stop worrying about them, right? Yugo, a happy smile on his black-marked face, asked Naruto. He scowled. Maybe I should try killing you again. The lack of response made him want to murder more, like everything else when he was around people. Kabuto channeled his chakra through Karen's body after she all but forced him to calm her down. Healing ninjutsu sensory was focused and limited to flesh the user was in direct contact with. It required extreme chakra control typical of all medical jutsu, but not for someone to be born a sensor type. Knowing how deep wounds ran and making out poison in the bloodstream were integral to knowing how, even if, to heal someone. Microscopic insects the size of cells were around her internal organs, leaking poison into her bloodstream. Can you get them out? It's going to be the most excruciating pain in your entire life. He scoffed. I knew the Aburaim had secrets, but this is just ridiculous. She grit her teeth. Get on with it. If I do extract, you're going to get infested again. The fact you haven't been attacked directly means the entire hideout is crawling with them. We can't just do nothing. The more you panic, the more the poison spreads. He hummed as her form stiffened. They can easily excrete more, so they're aiming to incapacitate or weaken rather than kill. Furrowing his brow, he sighed. Last thing we needed was complications. Huh! She turned her head over her shoulder to look at him. Go back up. He took his hand back. I'll stay down here to surprise them. You're not a sensor ninja. Doesn't mean I won't be able to hear fighting so close to the surface. Besides, if they had a sensor ninja of their own, they'd have come for me first. We'll have to take care of them, leave the hideout, kill any of the bugs that could be on us, and then extract them from our bodies. She shivered. It's so gross though. There are already microorganisms on and inside most living things. Kabuto deadpanned. You. He twitched. Get lost. Her childish, unprofessional demeanor grated on him for once thanks to their situation. Even if it was a team of the Leaf's best, that didn't worry him anywhere close to how much the Akatsuki did. Only two ninja aside from the Hokage could stand a decent fight against or defeat a member in his mind. He doubted they'd be lucky enough for them to take each other out, and it was unlikely they'd combine forces against theirs. They were obviously there for Naruto, who was also a goal of the Akatsukis. Itachi and Kisame revealed their existence and objectives to the Leaf after their brief visit, so it was possible they could combine forces to eliminate whoever they'd send before turning on each other. After having Sasuke tell him the actual surroundings of the real Hiden and careful consideration, Kakashi had Dosu relay orders for the rest of his team to create a shadow clone each. He ordered Kiba to go with them, not needing or wanting him around. Akamaru, transformed, could take a blow meant to kill him, but it was a bad idea to tell him that. The clones of his students seemed like they'd be enough to trap the split original without need of their assistance. Dosu and Tenten would take care of any clones on their end while the original Sasuke and Sakura would hold theirs. Dosu squinted at ever-familiar movement sounds. 3 times in a row? He scoffed. Are we sure this guy was Umbu? He views me as a factor he must eliminate or thinks this side is significantly weaker without me in top shape. Kakashi clutched his offbeat heart. Both are accurate conclusions. I know this is probably one of the biggest missions we'll ever be on, maybe even the last for one of us, but you've been overthinking everything about this. Kakashi wanted to scoff. This is exactly how our enemy thinks. In the Umbu, a single mistake or oversight could cause an international incident, beyond getting you and your comrades killed. His motivations are fanatical, but his methodology is practical. The only reason he hasn't left is a sense of duty. What? He looked to him. Can't that line of thinking be exploited? Not if you're thorough enough. Dosu focused back in their enemy's direction. Right in my range. Forming hand seals, he concentrated. Got any explosives? He asked their closest female ally. Tenten nodded. Yeah, what for? Offing the clone and looking really cool during it. He stopped on the bird's sign. What about the bodies? He separated his hands. Already mush or burnt. Bringing them together. Only one person heard them clap. Clone Hiden saw the figures off in the distance 1 second and was face to face with the slack face of a dead woman the next. What? It blinked, unable to hear its own voice. The hell? Forcing itself on its knees, a surge of malaise made it vomit. Did you? Tenten squinted at the distant sight. Dosu, hearing his handiwork, nodded. Yup. He's open. So Sakura puking over your face. She took out her scroll of paper bomb-tied kunai while drifting off, realizing he could do the same to her. Never mind. Her fear appeased him. I can't believe Orochimaru saw me as a grunt when I can do that. Kimimaro could still kill him easily, but the same could be said of most other shinobi. You couldn't before I helped you develop it, Kakashi said. But he didn't even bother trying with me. He heard the explosive ninja tool being released. I was just ahead of his fodder. Metal whirling through air brought his eye to it, soaring toward the clone. What kind of genius does that? Intelligence and wisdom are correlated but different. Clone Hiden looked at Reddit swept from the side of its face. My eardrums. It didn't hear the kunai whizzing inches from its back, but it felt the explosion pushing him forward. Oh. Missing a chunk of its back and spine, it fell limp among the rest of the bodies. Shit. Dispersing would have ended its misery, but, beyond making it easier to track the original, wasted a potential opportunity. Kakashi shook his head. A bit overkill for a clone. Dosu blinked. He didn't disappear. Then he's having it endure. He accurately assessed it was baiting them to check. On second thought. Looking up, a smile spread across his face. Give him a few more. Ow. Tenten obeyed. Right. Clone Hiden still couldn't hear anything. The next explosion let it know they knew. It allowed itself to poof, not wanting the original to fall unconscious again, and to relay more information. All their capabilities were still lost on Hiden, but his clones discovered more than enough. Staying would get him captured. Damn. Hiden wavered yet managed to stop himself from falling, saving baby Daigo from being crushed. Forgive me, Lord Jashin. He took a deep breath and sighed. I've failed you. Closing his eyes, he held up a hand straight. May the deaths of the other heretics sate you for now. He set the baby down one last time, tapped its nose, grabbed his scythe and walked towards the door. When you grow up, you better have taken the lesson of this day to heart. Kiba, Akamaru, and the Sakura clone followed the Sasuke into the city. Everything they witnessed in their brief journey fueled their fury. Someone needed to answer for the wanton destruction, and it had to be the perpetrator. Their mission became the last thing on their minds. He was walking down the stairs of the complex when they showed up. Not surprised, he lifted a hand in greeting, careful to not look them in the eyes. Yo! I'm calling it here. The confusion on what he could see on their faces made him raise an eyebrow. I'm leaving. You're all a bit much, so I give up on killing baby daimyo. He was going to try again after they left, but his chances were better if they didn't know. Do you really expect us to just let you leave after all you've done? Clone Sakura asked, legitimately questioning. Yeah. It twitched. I'm going to murder you. Good luck with that. He glanced at the other two looking at him in disbelief. One of you get a handle on her. Fuck off. Kiba yelled, Akamaru transforming into him. He shrugged. Let's get to it then. A jump launched him over the railing. Clone Sasuke's focus never once drifted away from the hole in the center of his chest. It explained why Dosa asked the original if he saw anything different. That meant several things. One possibility jumped out the most: Kakashi fell victim to his assassination jutsu. Knowing that would have set them off balance, so either Dosa nor Kiba would tell them. A long blade of pure lightning pierced his chest, missing his spine by inches thanks to haste in the air. He shifted, turning a potential bisection into a deep slash. Letting go of his scythe, he made the tiger and ox signs to blow them far back with the great breakthrough jutsu. The scythe didn't touch the ground with some maneuvering of its cable sending it back into his hands. He turned and began running. Having removed their weights before the entire fiasco, Kiba and Akamaru closed the distance between them and hid in seconds after they recovered. One delivered a savage heel kick to the elbow of his arm holding the scythe, and the other did the same to his knee. The armbreaker kicked the scythe out of his grasp before joining his lookalike in beating the fallen man senseless. When the other two recovered, they rushed over and joined in. None knew when they'd stop. Smoke clouded the sky above almost as much as the steam did. It could be seen from far away, and the terrorized despair in the survivors could be sensed. Even a weak sensor ninja could have felt it in passing due to the sheer amount of people. Bubbles began floating over the burning city. Their caster knew it would draw someone he'd been avoiding as of late to him, but he couldn't sit by. Excitement drove Anko and Hinata to reunite with the other half of their team sooner. The Byakugan let the latter see their subterfuge. More importantly, it let her know neither their objective nor his assumed corruptor were present. She could hardly care about the four inhabitants. Her love was absent. He's not here, Hinata hissed. He's not here. Is anyone? Anko asked, frowning. She shook in anger and frustration. He's not. Her hand took hold of her throat, turning her shaking into shivering. Who's inside? She was in no mood to wait either. She saw the only woman among them mimic her body language. An orange-haired young man with a strange body covered in black marks and strange, powerful chakra. A white-haired young man carrying an odd large sword. A red-haired young woman covered in bite marks with immense strange chakra. And a black-haired young man in umbu uniform with erratic chakra and closed pores. Tears left her eyes. I'm sorry, Anko-sensei. She whimpered, even as the woman took her in for an embrace. I forgive you, she said, tone soft and very much unlike her. She nuzzled the side of her hooded head. We'll torture the location out of them, and you can spend as much time as you want with him. The comfort and pleasantness Hinata felt in her presence came back in force. All right, Anko-sensei. Nuzzling her back, she buried her trauma once more. Karen stopped shivering and stared out at nothing. Someone more broken than Naruto exists. Say what? Suigetsu asked, not quite hearing her. She shook again at the memory of what one of the two newcomers' chakra was like. It was a blend of far too many intense stimuli. Nothing she experienced in her life compared. Stabilized from what she could tell, it was all too pleasant, but some agony remained. Love, lust, and pain was her being with the woman embracing her matching, save cruelty instead of distress. In case you somehow don't know, we've got 4 enemies inside. Anko turned to the other two. Naruto and Orochimaru aren't here, so they've got to know where they are. The orange-haired brat is Yugo. He can absorb people, manipulate his body beyond anything you've ever seen, launch beams of pure chakra at you, and is super strong. She would have regretted getting rid of her cursed mark if it really did benefit her. Got no clue who the hell the other 3 are, but they're probably Orochimaru's best. One's hiding beneath the ground, so I advise we kill him first. We need only inform them my toxic insects are in their bodies, and I am the only one with a cure. Torian said. Hinata looked to him, though not needing to. Yugo is not infected. Not like there was a chance of us talking him down. Anko scoffed. He'd throw a fit the second he recognized me. Were you close? She blushed as a hand stroked the top of her hooded head. He's an old play toy. A swarm erupted from Torian's flesh and flew down, forming another him. I'll send an insect clone. Unnecessary risks were out of the question. Karen's skin crawled. They're sending a clone made out of bugs at us. The woman can see what we're doing but not discern what we're saying. Hinata informed. Like a censor, ninja. Anko almost scoffed, remembering what she learned about those with red hair. She's an Uzumaki with the mind's eye of the Kagura. She doesn't need to mold her chakra to sense things, she mouthed. If she lives, she could jeopardize your plan to keep the Ninetales and the Hyuga. Her veiny eyes narrowed. That won't be a problem. Now she wants to obliterate someone, Karen said, grimacing at the fierce shift in her chakra. So there is a woman. Yugo jumped up and down. I call dibs. Soijetsu shook his head. Think of Naruto. He rolled his eyes at him, stomping a crack into the ground. What does he mean by that? Hinata twitched. And she's angry again. Karen squinted as the chakra shifted to a calm and controlled state, like Kabuto's did when he assumed an identity. Now. She tilted her head in confusion as the spy, putting together that his position was likely compromised, dug back up to the surface. On the floor proper, he looked to the hall leading into the main chamber. Whatever you do, don't say my name, he said in an unfamiliar voice. Why? Soijetsu shot him a look. Did you seriously, G? A hand nearly swiped through his head, stopping centimeters away. Shut up. The man in an Umbu uniform doesn't want them speaking his name, Hinata said in monotone. Anko hummed. An agent from another village? She shrugged. We'll find out. Torian's insect clone walked unobstructed from the entrance of the headquarters through the serpentine walls and into the central chamber where its unfazed enemies were. There are venomous microscopic insects surrounding your vital organs. One command, and they'll secrete more than enough poison to kill you all. If you're here for Naruto Uzumaki, there's something you should know, Kabuto said, ignoring the looks he got from the others as he stepped forward. And that is? 2 S-class criminals from the Akatsuki just recently learned the location of this hideout. He pointed a thumb back at them. We were originally supposed to wait here to ambush them before you came along. Wait, what? Karen said. Soijetsu kept himself from voicing his doubt. That was the plan. He shot her and Yugo a glance, telling them to play along. I have no reason to believe you, Clone Torian deadpanned. True, but we're at your mercy, if you're not lying to us, Kabuto said. If I'm right, you'll be facing 2 S-class criminals with whatever team you were able to muster from the Leaf. Before or after, you'll be too winded to survive with whoever is left. He smirked beneath his mask. Better to have us and not need us than need us and not have us. It studied them for several seconds. I must relay this information. To their disgust and amazement, it reverted into a cloud of insects. Akatsuki, Hinata quoted. 2 S-class criminals? Humming, Anko recalled the duo she last encountered fitting that classification. What's going on? The Umbu agent said they were supposed to ambush 2 S-class criminals from an Akatsuki instead of us. Indeed, Torian said, receiving his insects and chakra. We are aware of this organization. He looked to them. Capturing the Ninetales Jinchuriki and other such Jinchuriki appears to be their goal. Now you tell me. Anko scoffed. It was not relevant to the mission. That was an expression. She turned to the girl shaking by her side. Hey. Hinata almost growled. They're lying. People with their lives in an enemy's hands often do so in hopes of saving themselves. Sai said. Only the Umbu agent is calm, the others are too panicked. Trusting their chakra flow was futile from what she learned from Orochimaru's former student. Anko inclined her head. Then we get their location from them. She jumped down from the tree branch. I'll keep out of sight. The others joined her and entered the hideout, Torian taking the lead. Karen told her group of their movements with Hinata informing her own they knew. When they entered the central chamber, Anko stayed behind in the halls. Orochimaru's group sized them up as they stood unfazed. Neither was sure what was going to happen next. Where is Naruto? Hinata's tone did not leave room for argument. Kabuto took a deep breath and sighed. Try not to hurt them. Yugo sprang first, literally rocketing towards her with hardened flesh jets on his back. His morphing fist struck air though. A swarm of insects clouded his vision beyond going towards the others. Something massive punched him into the nearest wall. Vision cleared from being knocked out of the living fog, he saw two giants made of ink rushing toward him. Listening to the most experienced among them, Karen wrapped the other root agents in her chains after he finished doodling the behemoths and the girl's evasion. She wanted to let go because of the bugs, but that was a horrible idea. Then 2 lion heads of pure chakra from the girl's hands absorbed the chains surrounding her. It was so beautiful and horrifying she froze. Suigetsu, liquefied into a torrent of water to avoid the effects of poison, crashed over her lunging form before she could reach her. Violence was inevitable, especially for shinobi. If it wasn't then, it would be after whatever either dealt with. Life was a complicated spiral of chaos, none would ever know who got what end of the stick. All they could do was fight. Chapter 62, Dark Clouds. Living as an outcast feared by nearly everyone was no easy feat. Years' worth of experience and sheer power helped, but there was no safety net when both failed. For the first time in Utakata's life, he, a sensor ninja, couldn't shake someone. His enemy's sheer tracking ability was a level beyond an experienced shinobi in the field. The worst part was the man didn't need to sleep while he did. Bags beneath his eyes, the rogue Jinchuriki watched his bubbles hover over the growing fires. This will do. Why can't you ever just leave well enough alone? Even if they're insects to you, their lives still mean something. You know that's not why I'm mad. I know. He sighed. Just need to find the right place. There's a good ruin right in front of you. He frowned. Not funny. Saiken groaned. Fine. It grumbled. Keep looking for a perfect opportunity that doesn't exist. On another side of Onsen City, a hooded man in a black cloak with red clouds observed the bubbles up high. It wasn't the first time his prey tried to lose him by going through a city. Sensor ninja with no Umbu experience were often deluded into thinking that was a surefire tactic. He was rightfully wary of a direct confrontation but could only delay one. The traps he set were all too avoidable thanks to the basic Earth-style jutsu. Kakuzu. His blank green eyes narrowed. What? Find whoever did this. You can retrieve the 6 tails at a later time. You think a recruit is worth more than a tailed beast? Destroying the capital city of a land with a shinobi village in it wasn't an easy feat, and the Jinchuriki, aside from appearing to doubt his own abilities, wasn't that hard for him to track. If there's a bounty on their head, I'm cashing it. That's for me to decide. He began walking forward. Even a god needs money, only souls and worship instead of paper and coin. There was at least a monetary possibility in his new objective. What is he doing? Utakata muttered, noticing the sureness in his movements. Oh no! Saiken deadpanned. Another of your plans isn't working out. His ineffectual actions were beyond irritating to it at that point. Who could have seen this coming? His brow furrowed. No. Yes. Quiet. The loss of innocent life was something he worried about in using civilians to cloud his trail, but left no evidence of until then. He can't be. Aside from all of you dying eventually, this is why we never try to help anyone. I suppose this is a fitting place as any to end things. Told you so. Groaning, Utakata followed Kakuzu's lead. I suppose it's too late for me to lament involving others as well. Things would be so much easier if you stopped caring. And then what would I be? The bubbles popped, transforming into fierce rain. Like his kinsmen, he would have been lost in their suffering. The mood of the hideout went from anxious to frantic in seconds. Enko created a shadow clone and ran out the hall, forming different hand seals alongside it. While still wrapped in chains, Torian's insects swarmed outside him to accelerate their enemy's incapacitation. Sai, realizing the futility in struggling, stood and waited. Hinata did the same within the living blob, draining his chakra with the ultimate jutsu of her clan. Suigetsu realized what was happening after 2 seconds. Just as he crashed over her, he swept back. A super bolt of lightning fried him before he could act further, loosening his watery form. He refined his chakra control greatly, but purifying himself completely and creating purified water in vast quantities were still out of his reach. Clinging on to consciousness was in his ability, though. Pain, sharp and blinding, erupted from Karen's midsection. She could feel it across the rest of her body. A spike of earth jutted from the ground through her. It pierced her spine, her sternum, and nicked the bottom of her heart. Knowing she'd fall unconscious before dying of shock, she channeled earth chakra into the spear, shifting through, and bit her own hand as she fell. Kabuto was relieved by the display but not impressed. Odd abilities gave them an edge while the well-applied jutsu were mandatory of shinobi above fodder. Whatever the case, things were slipping out of their control. He channeled chakra to his palms, giving them a bluish-green glow, before charging at the trapped Aburame to buy them time. The half-teasingly dressed girl leaped over the chains into his path, devouring the bindings with one tiger hand and launching the other through the air at him. Being beaten into a stone wall by two giant ink men pressed Yugo's last nerve. He shaped the palm of his hammer hand into a massive jet, gathered his imperfect sage chakra at its center, raised it, and blasted them out of existence. Laughing, he rocketed towards the nearest female enemy. That joy turned into disappointed anger when the feminine figure turned into smoke against his fist. All occurred in about the same seconds. Karen burrowed beneath the ground to save herself from more spikes while maintaining the chains. Hinata blasted Kabuto back. Torian had his insects blind Yugo again, and Enko formed hand signs to take advantage of her allies' opened opportunity. Sujetsu could only wait, like the bound Sai. If there were an audience, they'd be breathless or cheering. Realizing his disadvantage, Kabuto followed Karen's lead once more in hiding like a mole. My ribs. The chakra he concentrated to his chest was drained somewhat. Who? A shake of his head cast those thoughts aside as he supercharged his immune system. Poison was in his body, and he had little options. It was tempting for Anko to laugh when she finished her signs. She couldn't help herself before shooting another super lightning bolt into Yugo for the umpteenth time. While the curse seal of heaven was gone, conditioning Hinata reinvigorated her sadism. Unwarranted or excessive rough play could disturb her feedback loop, so she'd take what she could get from him. Her hands joined to weave more signs. Hinata, having freed Torian, darted towards her last chained ally. They're retreating into the ground. She grabbed the chakra manifestations, letting the others know their female enemy was still alive with both tiger head hands. We need only one who knows the location, Sai said. Snarling, a twitching Yugo hovered off the ground. I'll kill you! Anko ended on the rat sign and slammed her hands down, creating two domes from the earth to trap him between. Look at him! He glared at her, vaguely recognizing her hair but not her altered voice muffled by a mask. Bitch! The second Sai was freed. Hinata closed the distance between them before Anko could. Where is Naruto? She pulled back one of her tiger heads. Who are you to him? Anger and frustration brought her mask near his scowling face. Did he fuck you? Yugo, for the first time in his life, was snapped out of his murderous rage by surprise and confusion. No. Tilting his head, he pondered the second question. I never had one, but I guess he's like an older brother? Both of you act like one to each other. Suigetsu, struggling to his partially hydrified feet, forced out. Enko made the hand seals of the Thunderbolt Jutsu once more. The hell's a Hozuki doing with Orochimaru? His uneasy eyes focused on the lightning chakra in her hands. Shit! Another super bolt sent him back into a daze rather than knocking him out, his reduced quantity letting him purify more of himself. Priorities! Sai deadpanned, drawing two more ink giants. Karen went straight for Kabuto, not knowing what to do. Hey. She glanced at the bare patch of exposed flesh on her abdomen, spared his own exposed chest patch one, and gulped. These guys are good. I'm surprised the Leaf has ninja of this caliber I was unaware of. He frowned beneath his mask. We're not dealing with normal Umbu agents or anyone in their military. What? Kabuto pointed up. Bind them with your chains from here. I can. Drifting off in realization, she shot them out. Hinata, having seen their lip movements, turned to her allies. Scatter! She grabbed the chains that came for her the second they left the ground, recovering more of her chakra. The others were not blessed with her sight, and their Uzumaki enemy had similar sensory ability. Sai chose to burrow himself only to be enchained along with his giants. Torian managed to dodge the ones meant for him before they followed around his body, and Enko jumped to buy her time for more hand signs to be sent back to the ground bound. If not for the emerging Kabuto's orders, Suigetsu would have shot water through their heads. Both stared the free Kunoichi down, unconcerned about a cloud of insects emerging from the Aburame. What kind of Umbu dresses like that? Wavering, Suigetsu squinted. You look like if a girl fresh out the academy took up hooking. Anko pouted behind her mask. That's a different kind of casual street sexy than what I was going for. He shifted to her. And you look like a dominatrix. Blinking, he tilted his head. Wait, what? Focus, you idiot. Kabuto, seeing where nearly all their opponents were, sunk into the ground once more, evading an air lion fist and more insect infestations. Hell are you using me as bait for? He completely hydrified to sink below a chakra lion head. And what kind of jutsu is that? Manifesting his head, he saw her rush to free her female ally. It'd be so easy to just. The trapped orange had caught his eye. You picked now of all times to calm down. Yugo looked to him with no black marks on his face. She knows Naruto. So what? His eyes widened at the memory of her words. You don't think. Laughter left his lips in realization. Oh no, focusing back on the girl, he returned to his normal state. Are you a Hyuga? Her complete lack of reaction annoyed him. Kabuto's hand emerged from the ground beneath Torian's head, glowing. I'm infested enough. He overloaded his nervous system through attempted mass neuron regeneration, just as he did Sakura and Sasuke months ago. Right as Hinata freed Anko, more chains Karen tried to hide rushed out the floor. She dispelled her lion fists, embraced her, and leapt far away from them. Her senses returned with the safety of her handler. Did he tee? A firm hand on her shoulder reminded her not to speak of their real identities. What is with those two? Karen furrowed her brow at the shifts in their chakra. Friends or just comrades? She blushed at another thought. Lovers? Memory of what the girl felt when the woman grabbed her throat made her shiver. Then why was something so small so painful? Torian is unconscious, Sai is trapped beneath the ground, the man in the Umbu uniform is a medic ninja, and the Uzumaki healed herself by biting her own flesh. Hinata watched Kabuto rejoin the others on the floor proper. Neither the Umbu agent nor the Uzumaki are suffering from poisoning. His body is inflamed fighting it and hers has somehow produced antibodies, but the bugs still remain. The Hozuki drowned his yet still carries the poison. The false Umbu walked toward them with his hands up. Now do you feel like helping us? Wait, you weren't lying? Sojetsu raised an eyebrow at him, turning to glare from behind his mask. Anko scoffed. Me and the girl here can handle you snowflakes just fine. She formed the shadow clone jutsu sign. Hinata manifested the twin lion fists once more before her eyes widened at an extremely odd sight. There are two people in black cloaks with red clouds, flying on a clay dragon toward this position. The clone blinked. Really? You're joking, the original said. Karen emerged between her allies. Two weird chakra signatures are flying on a dragon thing over here. Oh, for fuck's sake! Anko's hands clenched into fists alongside her doubles. The one time an enemy wasn't bullshitting. Suigetsu squinted at the vindicated man. Why didn't you tell us? His face scrunched in thought before he scowled. You son of a bitch! Yell at me or try to kill me later. Kabuto turned to Karen. Free the painter and his paintings. He looked to the annoyed woman. I'd dig my ally out, but I prefer to conserve chakra. Anko shot him a look from behind her mask. No, you do it. Consider it a gesture of good faith. Go fuck yourself. The clone spat. Karen watched the root agent rise alongside his creations with unease. So, you're going to help us out, right? She stared as he ignored her completely in favor of picking up Torian. While the only other Earth-style user on their side was preoccupied, Kabuto freed their trapped ally out of his Earth prison. You've calmed down. That girl. Yugo recognized her exasperation as the same he had toward Naruto's reckless behavior. Hinata glanced at the other root agent approaching with Torian in his arms. One of them has mouths on his hands and a stitched mouth on his chest. The other is a red-haired puppet. Cells covered the segmented parts and an actual chakra network flowed through them from a core cylinder containing a rotten heart, but their interior, aside from the various hidden mechanisms, was preserved wood. I don't mean he's in a puppet, although he is, his body is a literal puppet's. Sasori of the Red Sand is the only S-rank criminal puppeteer, and I am unfamiliar with the other. He set Torian down as the Ankos stood in disbelief. Will he regain consciousness? I can see no damage, it's as if he fainted. Sai glanced in the false Umbu's direction. He seeks to eliminate means by which we can track them. That won't be a problem. She frowned. He knows we're not ordinary Leaf forces. Her eyes were drawn to her handlers, scoffing. Orochimaru actually told him. Anko squinted at an approaching Hozuki. If you are who I'm thinking of, you should know. Suigetsu, lacking full context, petered off. Naruto was really fucked up by whatever happened between you. He frowned at the memory of his behavior before they went to the land of waves. He can't let go of you, and I'm not sure what he'll do if he sees you again. Mentioning Rika in any capacity was a horrible idea. Hinata's heart pounded at that news. Tell me where he is. Sighing, he turned and walked off. After we're done with the Akatsuki. Her attitude told him neither was likely to behave. The stage was set. By no means over, their fight would continue after. It depended on their enemy's abilities, though. S-rank ninja were death. If anyone were nearby a particular apartment complex, they'd hear the repeated thumping of flesh upon flesh. The perpetrators could have ended them at any time. All wanted to keep going. Only when nothing more could be done would they stop. Blood begot blood, and he shed more than he could ever repay. There was a resounding pop followed by fizzling none could hear. Heartbeats in their ears helped muffle noise out. Even if they wanted to, they couldn't take their attention away. All their feelings needed an outlet. Fatigue and numbness in their limbs eventually drove them to stop. Their enemy was little more than blood, bruises, and broken bones. His faint chest movements were proof he was alive, the whistling of his injured trachea drowned out by their heaving. A normal person would bear wound for the rest of their life. It still wouldn't come close to what he'd done. Clone Sakura reached for the handle of its blade only to be stopped by its partner. What? It squinted at its shaking head. Why? Do you really want to take it from them? Clone Sasuke looked back at the corpses far outnumbering theirs from where they came. That's... Kiba drifted off, catching his breath. A good point. The Sakura glared at their fallen foe. He could still be on the drug. I don't think it's a drug healing him. Clone Sasuke pulled up Haiden by his hair with one hand, drew a kunai with its other, and streamed lightning through it. Something to do with his chakra, maybe. It lodged the lightning kunai into his cervical spine. Hope the asshole can at least feel pain. Kiba growled alongside Akamaru. Sakura's clone helped the Sasuke lift up Haiden's limp body by his legs. Same. It turned him so his body was properly over its back. As soon as they started walking to the palace, they noticed the fire's absence. It raised the question who or what was responsible, but they and everyone who called the city home were grateful. Few of the citizens could smile though, many of them having lost something. None of the Leaf Ninja felt better when they saw their allies again. Their success was far too late. Dosa's eye squinted at the distant sight of Haiden's battered body over the Sasuke clone's back. Damn. Here I was hoping I'd get to beat the crap out of him when Kiba messed up. Tenten muttered. Oh, so either of you have faith in each other. Just a single mistake can cost you everything. Kakashi's mind flashed to Obito and Rin. Doesn't matter how strong you are. He tilted his head at the relieved and surprised face of his student as it approached. You're alive. Clone Sasuke dropped Haiden. Good job. Crouching down, he looked at his bloodied face. If it isn't a sleeping piece of shit. He twitched when red spit splattered against his cheek. Clone Sakura gaped. That's like slashing a painting, you monster! Kiba, Kibakamaru, and the Sasuke shouted a look. Seriously? They flinched at the jonin gouging the man's eyes, drawing a scream. Never mind. Kakashi stood up. Well then, he waved his hand free of blood before stretching both out, sparks flickering across his fingers. It's time for some enhanced interrogation jutsu. We should let the originals know what happened. Clone Sasuke said towards its fellow shadow clone. They're probably worried. It pouted. I don't see why I should. Because it's the right thing to do. Dosu rolled his eye. Your clones are back. Dispel them before they go rogue. He whispered. Oh, SAS. With a poof, it returned to the original. He looked to the Kibis. I'm surprised you didn't just kill him. Sasuke said we should leave that for the people of the city. Kiba looked to the field of dead while Akamaru whimpered. If anyone deserves to, it's them. Noble thought, but there's a lot our village can learn from him and his body. Kakashi held two fingers against opposite sides of Haiden's head as they shot him looks. Not as a defector. He's too far gone for that. He paid his spasming face due to the passing current no mind. The Yamanaka will figure out all he knows and then we'll dispose of him. Are you fucking serious? Remember our duty, what our Hokage is going through, and what's awaiting our village. The Kibas shook their heads. How the hell can you think of all that at a time like this? Because this is what a battlefield looks like and the mindset you'll need to survive one. He spared the innocent victims a glance. I saw more than a few scenes like this when I was your age. With some luck you won't, or you will. You. They stared at his figure carrying far more than he cared to let on. It felt impossible to argue with him on any level. Dosa sighed. Just let it go, man. He'd been thoroughly dismantled, physically and mentally, by him more than enough times to know not to doubt him too much. Kakashi let Haiden breathe. Who are you working with? An army. That many people wouldn't condone something like this. He resumed the electrocution. Pretty sure he's working alone. Kiba stroked his chin. If he didn't try running away. Dosa squinted at his sensei. You're just torturing him for the sake of it. Kakashi nodded as he stopped again. And? He'd done far worse to better people. W-World needs more faithful, like those three. Less hypocrites like you. Haiden groaned. So you're working with 3 others. He glared down at him. Names and abilities. Haiden managed to laugh. I don't know them personally. Looking up at the black sky, he smiled. Just got that feeling, you know? When you come across someone who understands or someone on the same level, kind of like you. Crackling sparks would have made him roll his eyes if they weren't throbbing. They're spreading the word and salvation of Jashin without even knowing it. Descriptions then. Bubble style. Dosa muttered, staring out where flames were doused. Water and why? 5 hearts beating in tandem inside one audibly squirming body made him freeze. What the fuck? Kakashi gave him a glance. What is it? There's a guy with 5 hearts who sounds like he's made of tentacles walking toward the front gate. Haiden's face scrunched when they focused on him. I got no idea what the hell he's talking about. Everything from his limited body language to his chakra flow showed he was telling the truth, though his background suggested everything relating to important information he said to them was a lie. Instruct Sasuke to observe from the gate, preferably with a shadow clone. Dosa sighed. Clones, ever get tired of them? I never want to see another shadow clone again. The Kibis nodded. Kakashi squinted at his student. It's for his own safety. He shifted to the Inuzuka. And you're going to be disappointed. Yeah? Dosa threw his voice to just his teammates. Sasuke, some freak with 5 hearts is walking toward the front gate. Go see who he is or just send another clone to do it. The last Uchiha's face contorted in confusion alongside Sakura's before he brought his fingers together again. Okay. Kids, am I right? Haiden said, looking at the other Anbu. Growling, Kiba kicked the side of his head. You shut the fuck up. Rude. He scoffed. I know you got your panties in a bunch about this. Another kick made him roll his eyes. But you shouldn't let your personal feelings interfere with efficiency and good tactics. It was a sentiment he shared but did not let control him. I beat your ass. His face scrunched in various emotions, one of which being confusion. Why are you giving me advice? You beat me thanks to circumstances you didn't set yourself, don't forget the clone team. Don't get me wrong, I am impressed. It's just. Drifting off, he struggled not to laugh. Hilarious you count it. That win is a win shit's going to hold you back and get you killed. A pensive hum left his throat. Why not give you advice? Honestly, you seem like you could use all you can get. He has a point. Kakashi met the Kibis faces with a neutral expression. What? It endured their scoffs as the wind they were. The latest in the line of Sasuke clones reached the top of the front gate and stared at a distant, approaching figure with immense chakra. That cloak is the same as Itachi's. What about your brother's cloak? Dosa nearly jumped back when his sensei's face appeared centimeters away from his. Details? Now. Anything noticeable about him? Only person I've seen with more chakra is Naruto. There's a hidden waterfall village forehead protector wrapped around his hood with a slash through the emblem. It frowned. His eyes are green, doll-like, and sickly. You said he has 5 hearts, right? Dosa inched back for his personal space invader to inch forward. He's got tons of chakra, is a rogue from the waterfall, and ha. Kakashi's heart raced. Tenten, come down. He focused on his flinching student. Tell the others to regroup with us in the palace. Glancing at the confused Kibis, he pointed at their captured enemy. You pick up the terrorist. My name is Hai. Haiden was kicked in the head one more time before being thrown over Kiba's back. Regroup with us in the palace, immediately. Kakashi's orders. Dosa shot him a look right as Tenten finished running down the ruined walls. What's going on? His eye widened. Holy shit, you're scared. Tenten zipped over and squinted. Of what? No time to explain. He rushed towards the palace. Follow me. Shinobi who lived to middle or past were dangerous. What approached was something else entirely. He lived through the end of the Warring States period, survived a battle with Hashirama Senju himself, and spent most of his life as a criminal wanted by everyone. Only the third Hokage could measure up to such ridiculous achievements, and he was dead. Fleeing before he became aware of their existence was the wisest course of action because he was also the world's greatest bounty hunter in spite of having a bounty himself. Guy and Lee dropped into stances alongside the remainder of the guard as they ran into the throne room. Hold there! He squinted at a somewhat familiar handsome face. Say something only my real eternal rival would know. Your dick is the size of AW. Let him through. What? Sakura and all the other underlings squinted at him. Not ever. Walking forward, he singled out the shaking young lord. We need to leave right now. Guy frowned. Enemy reinforcements? Maybe this entire situation caught the attention of Kakuzu. Kakuzu? His eyes widened as almost everyone in the rooms did. Yes. Haydn would have laughed if he wasn't surprised. Oh shit, really? The horrified face of Her Royal Majesty on the side from his perspective caught his eye. Hey, lady! Been a while, huh? Lady Hitomi pointed at him. Why does that cur still breathe? I demand you kill him this instant. Mother, what is he talking about? Minoru asked. Kakashi looked from Guy to Lee. Grab them. He paid the apprehensive guards an apologetic glance as the green beast snatched the royals. We'll keep them safe. They ran toward the exit opposite of the front gate with no further words. Nearly all knew there was no reasoning with their enemy. He was too powerful to negotiate with, and too greedy to let any kind of economic opportunity pass, not counting his ill temper they were unaware of. Likely he'd kill the daimyo on accident if they engaged or take him for an exorbitant ransom if they hid. Much to the two censor ninjas' surprise, the clay dragon flew past their location. They shared looks and were going to alert their allies before it began circling. It was difficult to see in absolute darkness with normal vision, but the two riding the dragon had ways. Each could see Mori Town far in the distance. Forest hid what lay below. Several dozen miles away from the capital, Deidara spied through the scope over his left eye. Forgot to thank you for letting us stay around for that fireworks show, my man. Sasori grumbled in an overly deep voice. I only did that so I wouldn't have to hear your whining. Oh, I know. He smiled at the memory. Knew the Cloud was developing some new weapons, but I didn't think they had the class to use them like that, With his eyes' mechanisms, he measured the distance between them and the town. Still think we could have taken those Jinchuriki. You're a fool. He singled out the location of the hideout before his partner could. It's a few inches to our right. Are you sure he still has the ring? He glanced at him and followed his line of sight. My spy confirmed it. Clucking his tongue, Deidara flew them down. Then we'll have to do this the hard way, Orochimaru likely set some trap for anyone who might stumble onto the place. I'll take point. Get your bombs ready and stay behind me. Keep the dragon out in case we need to go. I know he's good, but is he really that good, Sasori my man? Yes. Sasori grumbled again. He's a Sannin, and he killed the third Hokage. Could it be any more obvious? He smirked as they landed by the entrance. Old man Inoki is praised as much as he was, but I could keep up with him, Like I said, you're a fool? He took the first step off and the lead. Eyes narrowing, Hinata looked to the entrance of the main chamber. They're entering the hideout. Sasori's partner is an explosives expert. She frowned as he put his hands into a clay pouch. He makes them from clay with the mouths. Earth and lightning chakra mixed into structured change. He's stone explosion core. Sai deadpanned. Enko nearly gagged at the image in her head. Explosion release. She shook herself free of disgust. Use lightning but keep away. Don't know if you'll defuse or explode it. Just who the hell are these guys? Karen shivered at one cold, lifeless signature. He's like a walking corpse. Suigetsu smirked. Accurate. That's Sasori of the Red Sand. Kabuto hated how itchy his entire body felt but knew it was better than dying. Deidara, a terrorist for fun and hire in his own words, is his partner. He groaned, voice hoarser thanks to swelling. Kill both as fast as possible. It wouldn't be so simple. Matters were complicated enough. Almost every one of them needed rest. Like many things, it'd elude them. Chapter 63, Rave On. Everything was as Kakuzu suspected it'd be. Survivors were in shock, the guardsmen were exhausted, and a field of corpses surrounded the palace. The daimyo was under threat, or something extremely valuable in his possession was the target. A leaf forehead protector he could make out on the Uchiha-looking kid told him a foreign detail was protecting him, meaning the aggressor was suspected to be a steam ninja or obviously beyond their abilities. He burrowed underneath the ground a few seconds after the clone turned into smoke, seeking to minimize his potential enemies as well as check for escape tunnels, and practically swam through the dirt. If they somehow identified him, they would run or attempt to hide, so it was the best course of action. Dosu gulped as the disturbing chorus disappeared. Guys, I can't hear him. He went into the ground. I thought sound traveled better through solids, Tenten said. Sound is vibrations and the human ear processes wind vibrations best. My sound chakra enhances it drastically. If I knew how to hear through solids, we wouldn't have needed the Sharingan to check for Earth-style users. We still need to improve your chakra control. Inventing jutsu with an element he never heard of and couldn't use was an interesting challenge to Kakashi but arguably a misplaced priority. If I concentrated only on that, who knows what you could do? Again? He shot him a glance. Are you really going to say it right now? If he died, at least he'd never have to hear him repeat the spiel. Kakashi looked onward to the ruined city instead. Just focus, Dosu. His eyes widened alongside Sasuke's at the fast-moving mass of chakra below. Haiden laughed. This is why the earth uprooting before them made him grin. Kakuzu's eyes didn't shift an inch from the center of their group, as if seeing through them. You're Sakumo's child, he hummed. And you are an Uchiha, making you Itachi's little brother. Various estimates and calculations flew through his mind. Looks like this was worth my time. They moved the instant he stopped talking. Guy and Lee set down the royals, activated the fifth gate, and sprung at him from opposite sides. Kakashi, Tenten, and Sasuke drew kunai to throw at his joints. Sakura took a deep breath before grabbing the handle of her sword. Kiba, not as fast as the Bolka duo quite yet and holding a prisoner, waited alongside Akamaru over accidentally entering the line of fire. Dosu began forming hand signs. He blocked both of the green beast's shockwave-inducing kicks with his arms. I felt that. The ninja tools briefly pierced his cloak but bounced off his hardened skin. Before he could counteract, Sakura alone was before him, Guy and Lee bouncing back to evade whatever he had planned. She altered the properties of her blade after she figured out how to and never changed them. It was drawn into a slash like a bolt of lightning. His flesh, reinforced as it was, may as well have been air. A hand grabbing the hilt stopped her from getting further than his shoulder though. Neither wind, water, fire, nor lightning. For the first time since he met their leader, he was surprised. You altered the properties with earth rather than reinforcing them. He lifted the blade out of him, shifted his grip to her wrist, and twisted her into a chokehold within a second. I found a fortune. You. Sasuke stomped toward him, but his sensei's hand on his shoulder stopped him. The tomo of Kakashi's Sharingan whirled into a pinwheel. I'll do it. Actually. Dosu finished his signs and clapped his hands. I did. Kakuzu wavered for a moment, and only one, using the still conscious girl to steady himself. Sound? Threads emerged from his calves and steadied him with the ground. Not auditory genjutsu. As he said those words, he saw the tomo and pinwheel whirl. The Uchiha were always so reliant on that little trick. He focused on the latter as Sakura went limp, dropping her sword. A tremplante that can activate the Mangekyo. He lifted her body to guard his vitals. Your name and bounty suit you, Hataki. The scowl on his face confirmed his suspicions. So it's either the black fire or some other offensive jutsu. Itachi. Kakashi hissed. Reading lips was something he learned ages ago. He has it then. He scoffed at the two Sharingan users' confusion. Neither of you are special. Kiba and Akamaru could only gawk. What the fuck? The man fought Hashirama. I'm surprised you're all still breathing. Haiden chuckled. I assume you're the one who bombed the city. Kakuzu said, noticing his condition and lack of commonality with the others. No bounty on you. He laughed harder. Not a Rio. A smack to his face made him twitch. Since we're talking, can you help me out here? He sighed at another. I'm a big fan of your work, but I know you're not one for sentiment, so I'll trade my freedom for what's left of my ninja days stash. Just take the kunai out of my neck. Minoru, shaking, stepped forward. I have a counter-offer. He gulped as everyone focused on him. I give you whatever you want in exchange for the lives of everyone here. Hitomi scowled. Minoru. A puppet's words are as worthless as they are. Kakuzu's upper arm shot out, extended by threads, grabbed the kunai in Haiden's neck, and tore it free before they could break out of their shock to react. You are in no position to bargain regardless. Sasuke reached into his pouch. Kiba. Right. He prepared to move toward him before the freed kunai nearly slashed his eyes, making him fall back for Akamaru to catch. Tenten's gaze couldn't leave the embedded blade that did what her team's best failed at. Lee. Her lack of visual recognition told him all he needed to know. Kakuzu noticed the boy in green disappearing from his line of sight. Predicting his next action and wary of possible tricks, he sunk into the ground. A sweeping leg missed him in favor of a sword hilt, letting him know their ability to wound him was still limited. It ripped through the earth and was sent flying toward the other girl. Sasuke, seeing an opening, moved toward Kiba, but his extended arm swiping forced him back. Leaning out of its edge's path, she caught it by the hilt. Damn! Her hands shifted into a proper grip before she launched herself at his disembodied one and severed it from the rest of him while his attention was divided. Double-edged, perfect balance, thick blade, and somehow no warping. I'm going to kill all of you! He sunk completely into the ground with his captive in his good hand, attached threads retreating after him. Sakura! Sasuke nearly turned to their own sinking sensei before he noticed the massive shift in their enemy's chakra. Everyone move! The urgency in his voice spurred those who couldn't see to follow his advice. Lee and Guy grabbed their majesties before jumping toward the palace's defensive walls. Kiba, being the farthest back, fled into the palace interior with Akamaru. Sasuke, Dosu, and Tenten ran up the palace's actual walls. Kakashi just sunk deeper, aiming to catch their enemy by surprise and rescue his student. Where Kakuzu's severed arm once was, a mass of threads bared a deformed mask. Its mouth opened with sparks that would have sprinkled if not for their cramped environment. A torrent of lightning followed. Those who saw it from far away would have thought lightning struck the earth rather than the sky in succession. Had they remained, all would have been crispy but not completely unharvestable or unrecognizable. It's Kimimaro all over again! Tenten scoffed at the scarred ground. Except this guy could probably kill him. Dosa couldn't hear her or anything save a loud droning. Ah, fuck! That was something to beat out a fireworks show. Minoru would have laughed and wondered if it wasn't done in an attempt to kill him. Did everyone see? He turned and widened his eyes at the countless bodies. Back inside the palace halls, Kiba grit his teeth at the damage he could see. Why didn't I pick up any ninjutsu? Haiden, spine healed, set his elbow right by pressing it against the boy's back. Powerful. Shifting, he locked him into a rear naked choke. But every jutsu is just a means to an end. He tried to use him as a shield against Akamaru, but he was too slow to maneuver in time, getting knocked away from the sheer force. Try! He rushed and punched with Akamaru only for him to catch their fists. This? He bit his lip, spat blood into their eyes, swerved around the real Kiba in their confusion, and managed to swipe a kunai from his pouch before getting elbowed in the face. Together they pummeled him toward the wall. Streaming wind chakra enhanced the edge of the kunai into something that could cut through normal metal, but he was too off balance from the elbow strike to slash any vitals. Physically outmatching them wasn't possible. Ramming the ninja tool into his own mouth bought him the second he needed to infuse it with his breath. Kiba caught his wrist before he could swing the forming wind scimitar. Akamaru working his gut didn't faze him. Wanna see something cool? He streamed fire chakra through the wind blade, creating a massive gout of flame that set whatever it touched alight. Kakashi managed to circle around Kakuzu's position in the time it took him to launch the lightning. Using the ability of his eye could kill him in an instant, but it could also take Sakura with him if he wasn't accurate enough or his enemy moved like Orochimaru did. The first blow had to be swift and decisive or at the very least crippling. He shifted to his back as quickly yet as quietly as he could. When he was in range, the crackling of lightning could only be heard after his hand pierced through where his spine should have been and heart, careful not to go any farther. The beaked mask sewed to his back opened as he grunted. Pest! Concentrated water tore through his lung before air blasted him up and away alongside his cloak. What? His own back smashed against the remnant of the palace's perimeter wall. You should have gone for the head. One of the masks broke. Now I need a replacement. The organ contained within wriggled through his jigsaw body and found its place in his chest. Guy jumped down, picked his eternal rival up, and leaped back onto the battlement. Are you all right, Kakashi? Helped Sakura. Watch out for something on his back. His feet were placed evenly on the ground, but he fell back into his arms. Don't do what you're thinking of. Just use her sword. Have Sasuke and Dosa support you with lightning from range once she's clear. Right. He set him down against the parapet. Don't worry. Glancing at the annoyed dowager lady, he bent his knees. I'll be back, Your Majesty. Tenten and Sasuke stood unfazed while Dosa nearly fell off at him rocketing to their position, forming a small crater with his landing. Sword, right? She nearly pouted as she handed it over. Sakura can probably get you one like this. He turned away from his beaming student to his rivals. You are both to assist me with your lightning after I free her. Dosa blinked. What? Sasuke's eyes widened at a correct conclusion brought about by wrong assumptions. He must have been reinforcing his body with earth chakra. The lasting puzzled look on his teammate's face matched the droning in his ears. Oh, you can't hear me. I can't hear you. He created sparks between his hands and pointed down. Thunderbolt Jutsu. He went through the hand signs without needing his chakra and pointed at himself. Fry him when you do, Dosa nodded as he did affirmatively. Kiba and Akamaru backed away before the entire hall was in flames. You're insane. Enlightened. Hiden threw the kunai so it wouldn't fuse with his hand and clucked his tongue when it, other than lacking the effect he wanted, missed. If I just had my scythe, you'd be dead right now. The fire engulfed his body, not that he cared. I'll admit it, you're strong. But you're still lacking. His face scrunched in confusion and his sheer absurdity. What the fuck is wrong with you? He stepped back as he stepped forward with the fire growing around him. Gray hairs on his head burned to ash. Me? He scoffed. You're the one running away. You're on fire. So what? He shook his head. This is exactly what I meant when I said you didn't beat me. Frowning, he glared at him. You don't have the balls. Kiba growled at the memory of the last person who denied his agency before squinting. You're just goading me. Well duh, but you know I'm right. Asshole. He took out a kunai with a tied explosive tag from his other pouch and threw it. Hiden blinked when he managed to make the tag out with his fire-clouded, eye-boiling vision. Oh sure. The fire detonated the explosive before it could reach him, but it still took a good bit of his face and chest as it sent him back. Deeper within the earth, Kakuzu dropped the girl. She made a good hostage, but using her as a shield would jeopardize the wealth he'd gained from selling weapons she altered with her chakra. There was more than a small chance some of the others survived. Her blade could still hurt him, and it was dangerous if either of the shinobi in green were around to wield it, so holding back in any way wasn't an option. His flesh split and threads shifted until nothing about him could be recognized as human. He's coming. Sasuke pointed to where his twisted form was rising. Two masks on threaded masses emerged from the earth, each looking in opposite directions. A moment after, they spiraled, blowing fire and wind into a burning vortex that threatened to reach them. Guy launched himself into the fray regardless. Their swirling forms joined to blast him back with a wind-amplified burst of fire. He moved away before it could burn him completely but was still scorched. Both of their strongest were grievously wounded. They only had 2 methods of harming him, and just 4 of them could with Sakura captured. If he were at least showing himself, they'd have a chance, but the abominations made of him had no observable weaknesses. He was out of their league, even with their combined abilities and joint tactics. Overhead, Bubbles floated once more with their caster, uncertain of his own effectiveness against such a foe, rushing toward them. 7 conscious shinobi watched the entrance of the chamber, and each other. The leave shinobi, ironically including the pretending spy, didn't trust the opposing side in the least. Naruto's minions trusted them as long as they had a common enemy, unaware of their particular sub-faction. Lucky for them, their enemies were heading the right way. Both knew something was off though. No traps, Deidara said. Grumbling, Sasori stared at the light ahead. We're not alone or this place is about to come down on us. Suigetsu, hearing their movements, stepped into the entrance's line of sight. His finger was already pointed. A slight adjustment downward levied it at his head. Just as he finished, water shot from his fingertip through what seemed to be his skull. The smirk on his face died when he realized he wasn't bleeding. A Hozuki? Deidara put a hand over an oozing hole inches away from his heart and spine before fleeing back into the hall. Interesting. Sasori carried on regardless. I wonder if it's possible to make a puppet out of you. Jumping back in case of any surprises, Sujetsu frowned. What? He held out his left arm, a bulky capsule-like appendage with rods containing poison needles. Several spikes of earth shot out from underneath him and shattered against his body as he launched them. Preferring to be cautious, he watched how they reacted rather than follow up. The Hozuki liquefied, the orange-headed young man's skin hardened, the last two on their side sank, and the others did nothing with the kitsune-masked girl raising a halting hand. When the needles exploded, not a single one so much as grazed their skin. Suigetsu scoffed. Aren't you supposed to be some legendary badass? He glanced at their previous opponents and rightfully assumed the Hyuga girls' chakra missions redirected anything that could have struck them. Deidara, support. Clay centipedes and spiders skittered across the floor with those words. Hinata, seeing them coming and how chakra constructed them, emitted lightning from her aligning tenketsu to detonate them right next to him. Enough obstacles. Her hands clenched into fists, seeing his shell withstood them through the smoke. I've waited too long. One on her shoulder calmed her down and halted her from further action. The hell, Deidara's voice echoed. Your explosives are a detriment. The smoke cleared to reveal the demon mask shell of the puppet. I'll handle this alone. Cocky son of a bitch. Suigetsu blew another hole in its body. Where's the real you? He looked to Yugo, who was focusing on the girl, before looking at the rest. Are you guys going to do anything? The Ankos shrugged. You're doing well enough. They were still enemies, and they only needed one of them alive to divulge Naruto's location. Hinata could see the Uzumaki weaving her chains through the ground to create an inescapable trap for him, and the false Umbu taking a moment to breathe. The red-haired woman is about to act. A segmented, bladed tail shot from the mask's open mouth. It, like the needles, was coated in the same fatal poison. Yugo was too distracted to stop it from piercing him, but the rush of adrenaline let him keep the point in place. With a grunt, he lifted Sasori up by the tail and flung him into the wall to his right. The others had to move before he slammed him into the one by them. He didn't stop. I keep forgetting how strong you are. Suigetsu ducked before the puppet could slam into him, not wanting to lose more of his water content. Maybe bring it home already? He flinched at his guttural roar. His attacks are ineffective. Hinata could see barely any damage in the puppet's material. The red-haired woman no longer has a clear opening. Anko hummed. What about the other Akatsuki? Deidara is following Sasori's orders and keeping clear. She looked through the wall in his direction. His explosives are dangerous yet ineffective in this environment, especially against skilled applications of lightning style. Enduring the latest throttling with ease, Sasori was beyond sure his poison wasn't effective. He slaughtered hundreds in the Third Shinobi World War thanks to its debilitating effects. An ordinary shinobi would be laying still in agonizing pain, not throwing him around like a ragdoll. Eliminating them required a more active touch. Neither side was really giving it their all yet too, seeing as how the other half of the ambush group did little. Yugo, tired of batting him around, threw him up into the ceiling, aiming to finish him with his yet-to-be-named chakra cannon while he was in the air. Chains emerged from floor, walls, and the ceiling before he could. They wrapped around the puppet, suspending him in the air. A second after, it was torn apart. The red-headed young man that dropped out was only recognizable to three of them. Sasori took a scroll labeled 3 out of his pocket. Well then. His voice was softer yet far colder as he opened it. Let's get serious. Oh, shut up! Suigetsu fired relentlessly into the smoke. You're the biggest disappointment since D-rank hell. That was uncalled for. The cloud dispersed, revealing countless grains of black composing a dented ball. What the? Growling, Yugo pointed his warped hand at it. Die! Sasori, having been graciously warned he had something more damaging than his allies' jutsu, moved along the black sand out of the beam's path. The chains still present went down to envelop him, but the odd sand spiked between their gaps, crippling their maneuverability. With the dome turning into a series of spikes, they could see his hidden weapon. Only 2 recognized it. An answer to a long-standing mystery was right in front of them. That's the third Kazekage. Anko couldn't help but laugh. Hinata recognized the black grains as iron infused with structured and concentrated chakra, yet was unsure what to make of it. He can use the jutsu and kekkei genkai of those he turns into puppets. Soijetsu's eyes widened at them. Really? He turned to their enemy. You turn him into a ninja tool? Yes. Sasori deadpanned, sending iron sand after him and Yugo. Hardcore man. He scoffed at the black pooling around his feet. And that's not going to work. The sand stopped as Sasori put his hand on the sand. Fool. Lightning chakra powerful enough to kill most people streamed from his body through the extremely conductive material, shocking him and Karen into unconsciousness. Yugo blasted at the sand going after him, but it was too late. More dug beneath the ground toward him than there was crawling in the chamber. They rose and skewered him. Shifting, the sand spread out within, spreading poison and rupturing his internal organs. He dropped from shock as well as the damage to his spine. Sasori turned to the remaining group while the chakra chains dissipated. Are you going to do anything? He blinked, noticing their appearances were distinct from the others. I've walked into something completely unrelated to what I came here for. Tell me about it, the Ankos said in unison. I assume you're here for Orochimaru, which makes you either Umbu from the Leaf Village or another of the great shinobi villages. His face was as still as their masks. Fact you remain neutral through this encounter means my organization and I could be of some interest. I could hardly care about killing any of you, so I propose we join forces to find Orochimaru. The puppet shocked Sojetsu again, seeing he was stirring and didn't let up. She laughed. Don't think you're enough for him? Rather I have something and not need it than need it and not have it. He all you're after? Her clone asked. So you're here for his research. He put together his spy either was outed or betrayed him when he walked into that room. You won't find anything here, seeing as how the initial ambush was meant for me and my partner. He looked to the lightning conductor Hozuki. One of them likely knows Orochimaru's location, which is most likely where he's keeping all his valuables. The root agents shared looks with each other. Whatever the Akatsuki was there for, it wasn't Naruto, at least not yet. He single-handedly dispatched their previous opponents without much effort, so fighting him would be bloody. Fighting him was also inevitable, but they'd have the element of surprise on their hand if they temporarily joined forces. All they needed was the location. All right. She focused on the puddle man too. But I don't think we can get anything from him. Hinata looked down at Kabuto's faltering form. The masked man is still conscious and poisoned. Yugo, somehow still alive and healing, was too unstable while the Uzumaki woman was out cold. There, huh? Sasori sent his black sand through the ground over. You! It coiled around him and lifted him to the surface, forming spikes aimed at vital areas. Where is Orochimaru? He didn't need to tell him what he'd do if he resisted. Kabuto laughed at how much he underestimated the puppeteer's abilities. Do you really think I know? Anko stepped toward him before he could experience the excruciating sensation of what was essentially sandpaper grinding against his internal organs. This your first time? She dispelled her clone and beckoned her trainee over. He'd die of shock if you do that. Sparks danced between her gloved fingers. In my experience, the pain is enough to get them to talk before they do, Sasori said. Everyone breaks. Hinata, feeling phantom zaps in her most affected spots, made a spark between her own fingers by her teacher's side. He will. Not the best position for a sneak attack. Kabuto whispered loud enough only for them to hear. If I tell him what you're after, you can kiss that goodbye. He smirked behind his mask at the glares he knew were behind theirs. Shock me until the others wake you. Them doing exactly that cut him off and killed Sasori's growing suspicion. Resistance to interrogation (RTI) was practiced in depth within just the blackest Umbu's circles. Suicide capsules and curse seals were the only surefire method of ensuring silence. Human beings were limited by their forms, and the body was bonded closely to the mind. In truth, he would have told them under any other circumstance, but he was already broken. Naruto was the same, recognized it in him, and didn't want him to be alone, which is why he couldn't. At first, Hinata didn't know what to make of inflicting the same pain she endured on another person. It was stressful to even think about what she experienced, and those thoughts shifted to the loving aftercare she received. The awkwardness she felt faded after more than a few shocks. Catharsis gradually set in with the growing realization she wasn't the victim, at least not then. She felt so free she almost giggled, but she couldn't be any more bound. Several minutes passed before Karen stirred. The electrocution session, half of what she had for friends were going through, was immediately noticeable. Both female torturers shared, not counting the unique qualities each chakra carried, nearly the same signature. Only one's enjoyment was too indulgent. Crushing with her chains didn't work, so she was grateful Sujetsu was too scattered to make remarks. Her chakra constructed more chains and whipped over binding. Hinata shifted her body by ankos and emitted concentrated chakra from the tenketsu along her side to cut apart the chain whip before it could do the same to them. Sasori, lacking the Byakugan's vision, was severed from the lower and middle sections of his puppet body. Realizing the danger to his core, he swept along the black sand back, sending more digging down to eliminate his enemy. Anko planted a foot on the iron mass and streamed lightning chakra through it, driving Hinata to do the same. Sai's ink giants blindsided the still-moving puppet man to complete the ambush. While Sasori still had enough control to move himself away, his iron sand wasn't nearly as fast. Their fists made cracks in his wooden flesh, lacking the same durability as his Hiriko shell. Karen, seeing the chakra moving the iron and ignorant of his weakness, fled deeper down in panic. He held his chakra-stringed hands out at each giant, and shot fire sealed in a scroll on his back through specialized pipes jutting out his palms. The iron sand by the women shocking him raised in the form of spikes. Chakra emissions broke them apart and rend the section from the rest, severing the stream of magnet chakra flowing from the collective grain. Hinata, emitting far more concentrated chakra, lunged spinning at him. Neither his fire nor his iron sand could penetrate her barrier of unimaginably sharp blades. At least free from being electrocuted, he raised the iron between them before pushing himself back with it. She could see through his jutsu and knew how to kill him. Kabuto stared, on his knees and still twitching from his torture session, at the familiar spiral around the girl, putting two and two together. You have to be fucking kidding me. Jealous? Anko shot him a glance. Beautiful, isn't it? There is no way in hell I'm telling you anything. He knew who she was and was disappointed in himself that he didn't see it sooner with how different they were from actual rude agents. Oh, you all say that. Sasori hadn't used himself in combat since he joined the Akatsuki, and it had been even longer since he was pressed as he was. They would have all made fine material to work with. As much as he wanted to stay to procure them as such, things were not looking good for him. Not even his objective was in reach anymore, and Daidara's art, as usual, was subpar. His next move he wasn't feeling all that into needed to work, or else he had to flee. Karen stopped sinking when the iron sand went back up to protect its user from another dangerous enemy. Suigetsu was finally getting his bearings and looking forward to enacting vengeance. Yugo, still out, was at least almost healed. While the damage Kabuto suffered was superficial, he was still failing to fight off an extremely potent poison he rendered the only man with an antidote to unconscious. Their thoughts aligned with their pain of an enemy. Hinata manifested the lion fists as soon as she stopped spinning and launched them at him, sapping the chakra from his iron. She didn't stop. Naruto was so close, and they dared want to take what she sacrificed everything for. They needed to die for the threat they posed to the shinobi world in general, but she wanted them to for getting in her way. If she had the opportunity, she'd kill the other opposing group for the same. Daybreak was still hours away for all.